We interrupt the regularly scheduled mass programming feeds. Watchmen bring this announcement to the earth. A famine of the Word of YaHuWaH is found on the earth. Plagues are poured out in judgment. Important words of the Creator YaHuWaH have been dismissed. Without the Word, people are not living abundantly. My people perish for lack of knowledge. There is a city whose builder is YaHuWaH Aloha. There is healing for the nations. A light unto the Gentiles, restore all truth. Join us as we share from the Word of YaHuWaH.
Get out of my jammy.
Agriculture in the verse after that, and it's like I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time of the field. So that was the verse following that.
All right, so maybe we look at just Malachi 3. Yeah, there we go. Look at Malachi 3. So we're talking about this concept of tithing here and what the scriptures say about it. Well, let's just read Malachi 3. See, I am sending my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And that's what Malachi means, my messenger. Then suddenly the master you are seeking comes to his Hekal, his temple, even the messenger of the covenant. Messenger of the covenant, wow. In whom you delight. See, he is coming, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. And who is able to bear the day of his coming? And who is able to stand when he appears? For he is like the fire of a refiner, and like the soap of a launderer. And he shall sit as a refiner and as a cleanser of silver. And he shall cleanse the sons of Lui, and refine them as gold and silver. And they shall belong to YaHuWaH, bringing near an offering in righteousness. Bonnie, you want to pull that up for me, please? You there? There we go. Okay, we're on verse 4 there. Then shall the offering of Yehuda and Jerusalem be pleasant to YaHuWaH, as in the days of old, as in former years. And I shall draw near to you for right ruling, and I shall be a swift witness against the practicers of witchcraft, and against adulterers, and against them that swear to falsehood, and against those who oppress the wage earner in his wages, and widows and the fatherless, and those who turn away a sojourner, and do not fear me, said YaHuWaH of Hosts. So YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. For I am YaHuWaH, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Yaakov, that's 12 sons, shall not come to an end. From the days of your fathers you have turned aside from my laws, and did not guard them. Oh, well, that's about the same as today. Turn back to me, and I shall turn back to you, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. But you said, in what shall we turn back? We're on verse 8. Would a man rob Elohim? Yet you are robbing me. But you said, in what have we robbed you? In the tithe and the offering. You have cursed me with a curse, for you are robbing me, this nation, all of it. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, and let there be food in my house. And please prove me in this, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, whether I do not open for you the windows of the heavens, and shall pour out for you boundless barakot. And I shall rebuke the devourer for you, so that it does not destroy the fruit of your ground, nor does the vine fail to bear fruit for you in the field, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. And all nations shall call you Baruch, for you shall be a land of delight, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. We're on verse 13. Your words have been harsh against me, said YaHuWaH, but you have said, what have we spoken against you? You have said it is worthless to serve Elohim. And what did we gain when we guarded his charge, and when we walked as mourners before YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh? And now we are calling the proud Baruch. Not only are the doers of wrongness built up, but they also try Elohim and escape. Then shall those who fear YaHuWaH speak to one another, and YaHuWaH listen and hear, and a book of remembrance be written before him of those who fear YaHuWaH, and those who think upon his name. And they shall be mine, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, on the day that I prepare a treasured possession, and I shall spare them as a man spares his own son who serves him. And then verse 18, the last verse, then you shall again see the difference between the righteous and the wrong, between one who serves Elohim and one who does not serve Elohim, does not serve him. Okay.
I have looked and looked for Book of Remembrance for a code. I cannot find it anywhere. I've done it like 3 times. Interesting in verse
Definitely
1.
would be a great code.
It would be a great code because we've got Book of Life. I found that, but Book of Remembrance is a specific one about in his name.
That's
you
where
know?
I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Okay, in 1, I am sending my messenger. Doesn't that ring of John? I'm sending my messenger out before me to prepare the way. You know?
Well, I was thinking
You know what
it's,
I'm saying?
yeah, I was thinking it's Yahushua.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just saying it's so similar to John, about John.
The
A messenger
Yeah.
to prepare the way for me. It's
Oh,
so
absolutely.
similar to,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh, then suddenly the master you are seeking comes. Yeah, yeah, I think that's right.
well, and he shall prepare the way before me. So who is, and me is capitalized. Who is this messenger? Is it Yahuwah
I
or
think
Yeshua?
I think you're right. It shows to be like Yahuwah the Immerser, aka John the Baptist. I'm sending my messenger, he shall prepare the way before me. Then suddenly the master you are seeking comes to his call, even the messenger of the covenant. So there's 2 messengers here. There's the messenger that prepares the way, and then there's the messenger of the covenant.
I've got a note on here. I've got master or Adon underlined here, and I've got Isaiah 3:1 and Luke 7:31 written.
Okay. You want to go?
Worth looking at.
Yeah.
Oh,
I need to pull out my notebook so I can write down what you just said.
Yeah.
Here you go. Would you say what were those scriptures you mentioned?
Isaiah 3:1.
I don't see that it's 2. I see it's the same one.
I see 2 messengers there myself, but I had to reread it. One of them's preparing the way, and then the other one is the one that you're seeking, the messenger of the covenant.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I gotta look at that again.
That's one scripture that I've got. And those 2 tabs.
What was it again, Bonnie? Isaiah 3:1 and Exodus?
Luke 7:31.
Oh, Luke 7:31.
So he's referring to him as Yahuwah. For look, the master, Yahuwah of Hosts, is turning aside from Jerusalem. That's talking about him directly. That's what I read.
We'll
And
get back.
there's Johann.
Oh, so we've got the word master there again. I don't know why. I've got Luke.
And then go up a little bit because there's about John the Immerser.
Yeah.
Or say to you among us, not greater prophet.
So there's no greater prophet than YaHuWaH the Immerser of the men that have ever lived.
Or prophet. Yeah.
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 Wow.
No greater prophet ever. I think, or it says or ever will be. Does it say that somewhere?
Like
Yeah, I think
we ever really give him this kind of credit? I mean, that's huge. And it's from the son of Yahuwah said this about him.
yeah, I'm thinking somewhere it says there's not a greater prophet or there never will be.
We're talking about the master. The master you are seeking comes to his temple, and the messenger of the covenant. Do you think there might be 2 separate people?
Comma, and who you delight. See, he is coming. He's talking about himself. I think he's talking about Yahushua and him.
Yeah, so
which they're the same.
say that it's two messengers then. The first sentence, the first messenger, like isn't capitalized, for instance. And I'm not a big proponent of, well, it's capitalized in English. It's like,
Capitalized, yeah, right.
but in Hebrew it's not capitalized. It's just both times it says messenger. So it's
Okay.
the translator to decide where they're making a capital M.
Yeah. Look
Yeah.
what it says here in the note. Generally interpreted as Yochanan the Immerser.
Yeah.
So my messenger
Okay.
and the messenger, or the messenger of the covenant.
Right. And they got a B on that one. They got a B letter there.
It's the Messiah, obviously. So Yochanan, the cousin, and Yeshua.
Well,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And we also have, see, he is coming, said Yahuwah. He didn't say
See,
I.
he is coming.
Yeah.
So he's talking about Yahushua.
And who is
Well,
able to
that makes three in there then.
Yeah, yeah, that makes three.
Yochanan, we've got Mashiach, and we've got the Father.
Yeah, the father's the one who's
And the
saying the
master.
whole thing. Yeah.
So it looks like the father is saying the whole
Temple.
paragraph. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
The master's coming to his temple. Who's that then? Is it the Father? Is it the Son? Is it a
Maybe it's talking about four things. Maybe it's talking about to his temple, like inside us. Maybe it's talking about each one of us.
Yeah.
So that would be four people, four entities, four.
1, 2,
1, 2,
3,
3,
4?
4.
Oh,
Can we see that in the Hebrew?
yeah.
Melech. So Melech means king, doesn't it? Melech or messenger, king.
No, this is the messenger word, but he's got an olive in there. See? Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf.
Mama Olive call my messenger.
Yeah, so if you ever hear like somebody with this name, that's what it means. And there are people who adopt this name for themselves in ministry. And there's even people who name their children this name, MaLAKiY. But
It's a good name.
But with the Aleph, it's the messenger rather than the king. So Mem Lamed Kaf is king, isn't it?
yeah.
Sovereign.
Or even as Eric Bissell says, one who takes counsel.
Let's look at oh, wait a minute. Oh,
Yeah, so this is the word that is translated to angel, which has pagan connotation. So messenger or malak would be the better way to say the word in English. Instead of having our understanding that we've been raised with angels being everything from Valentine Cupids with babies with wings, fat little chubby babies with wings, to anything else that we have that's not scriptural idea of angels, any sort of angel on top of a Christmas tree. This is not what a malak is in Yahuwah's word.
can you go back up to the top, Bonnie? I think it said ambassador. If it says it means ambassadors, then that's us too. Aren't we a messenger too? To the lost, aren't we a messenger? I think it said see ambassadors. So why wouldn't we be that too?
In the Brown Driver Briggs here, you've got messenger, one set with a message, right? And
Messengers of peace.
angel as a messenger of Elohim. The theophanic angel, whatever that is.
That's like the one that says that Yahushua is that messenger of YaHuWaH. The messenger of YaHuWaH equals
Or
Yahushua.
teacher. Here's teacher, ambassador.
So from an unused root meaning to dispatch as a deputy, a messenger, specifically of Elohim, a malak, also a prophet, priest, or teacher. So it's that verb idea of our Hebrew where it's like it's been dispatched as a deputy from the Father.
Yeah, because aren't we called ambassadors for YaHuWaH?
Yeah.
Because doesn't Paul say that?
That says ambassador. I missed it.
Doesn't he say, for your ambassadors for YaHuWaH? Doesn't it say that?
Yeah, but generally when this word is used, it is a supernatural, not a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
I don't think this term, I'd have to see where this term is actually used for priest and things of that nature, but we did want to get to the tithing, and we could spend probably hours.
Yeah. 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 We could.
We could, couldn't we?
Sure.
Uh,
We've been known to do it.
See, I'm sending my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Just aren't we all messengers though?
And you know, this speaks directly of Yochanan the Immerser.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we are, Terry, because we're in alignment with Yahuwah's will. He compels us to do this, that, and the other, and we're serving him. But we have that in common with the supernatural beings dispatched to do Yahuwah's will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do we want to maybe start at verse 4 then? We understand he's coming to cleanse and to refine. Then shall the offering of Yehuda and Jerusalem be pleasant to Yahuwah as in the days of old, as in former years, after he's done all that cleansing and refining. So he says in verse 5, and I shall draw near to you for right ruling. Oh, hallelujah. And I shall be a swift witness against the practicers of witchcraft and against adulterers and against them that swear to falsehood and against those who oppress the wage earner in his wages and widows and the fatherless and those who turn away a sojourner and do not fear me, said Yahuwah Tz'BaOWTh. All right, so we've got some sins here he's going to be addressing as a swift witness. So because we want to go look at the tithing part of this, but as we're coming into that, let's look at what he's got on his heart to deal with. He's got witchcraft, adultery, what's next? Liars, against them that swear falsehood, and against those who oppress the wage earner, and wages, and widows and the fatherless. So the oppressors. You could also say like the whole tax system and that sort of thing, or anyone who changes wages on somebody. Those, even a sense.
We talked last week about the book of Jasher and how the bondage in Egypt more than likely started with oh
Yeah, they were earning wages and then they took them away.
Yeah.
So if that is true, can't get rid of the embrace.
Well, that statement, the last one, and do not fear me. If you fear him, you won't be doing any of the above. So that kind of covers everything.
So the oppressor of wages, widows, and fatherless. So that's sort of a tithe sort of concept that the Father wants our tithe to handle or at least our what our proceeds from our work. He wants it to handle the widows and the fatherless and the sojourners' needs, the sojourner, and also those who do not fear me.
You know, the sojourner, that's a difficult one right now in the times we're living in, because I have to tell you, if somebody knocked on my door, a homeless looking man, and he said, I need a place to stay tonight, I don't think I would let him do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also
Safety.
man,
Why would you? Yeah, you know.
I don't think
Yeah.
a single woman is supposed to take in a man. I think a man should go to a man if he has a need. That's just that shows impropriety, and
Yeah.
it's not wisdom. Yahuwah calls us sojourners, like we're sojourners on this planet. This is not our home, and so
Yeah.
sojourners are moving from here to there. But Terri, you might feel different about a mom with 2 kids that came traveling through.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good point. Good point. I would. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no reason he would have to. That would not be proper. He should probably go visit a church and talk with the church leadership. That a person that is, somebody said to me recently that he helps people that have been accused falsely in like protection orders, and he said that the attorneys just bring him these cases because they don't want to deal with it, but he's trying to help them clear their name. And he said his clients self-select because the innocent, they have so much proof, but the guilty party, the one, if somebody falsely accuses, or the person that was accused rightfully, that person's hiding stuff. So he says they self-select, they bring me all this information, and then I'm able to help them. So a person like this that's a sojourner and they are an innocent person, they've got all this, I need help, and they're forthcoming with their story. And I think that the Father gives wisdom too to the person
Right.
story. And
Discernment.
there's witnesses. Where's your second witness?
Yeah.
There's all that too.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's a list of sins that were brought here in verse 5 that the coming messenger of the covenant is going to deal with as a swift witness.
Yeah.
Talking about list right there. These are the things that he's wants to just nip in the bud. YaHuWaH, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. Okay, so now we're told the why. The why he's going to do those things. YaHuWaH, I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. This is his reasoning for doing this. It would imply that the sons of Jacob would come to an end if he doesn't do this. Do y'all see it that way?
Yeah. But this whole statement, this whole statement here is massive.
Yeah.
Shall not change. And people people want to twist things and translate things, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, how many people read Malachi and with a critical mind of what is it actually saying? His purpose here is that he doesn't want the sons of Jacob to come to an end. Do we even know who the sons of Jacob are? Well, he knows. This is his purpose right here. He does not want them to come to an end. And he wants them to know he shall not change.
Oh, look, you got shall not twice there.
Yeah. That means it's been his purpose all along here that Yaakov, the sons of Yaakov, will not come to an end. I wonder why he chooses to say Yaakov and not Yasharel.
Yeah. Do we want to look at the interlinear on any of this?
I'm okay with moving forward if we're trying to get to the tithing stuff.
Yeah, that's okay. But there's you've got the term up here in verse 4, the offering. It's like, okay, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, the Buddha.
I'd be, what is that word and what does it say? What does it mean?
The commentary. I think look at the commentary there. What does it mean that their offering will be pleasant as in the days of old, as in former years? Yeah, let's look at the commentary on that. And we can look at the Hebrew as well. I think he must have, while she's looking for that moving forward,
Yeah.
I think the reason he must have said sons of Yaakov instead of Yasharel is he wants to bring the reader to the fact that this is not just a nation, but this began with a man who was the grandson of Abraham. And then he's got 12 sons. We know that. That takes us back to Genesis. Like, as Tezza usually says, like back to the garden, like get back to the reference is in Genesis, and it's saying, I shall not change, and the sons of Yaakov shall not come to an end. And then we have in Genesis 49, where Yaakov is telling his 12 sons what will become of them in the latter days. Just profound chapter, just to wait, what? We're in those latter days now. What did he say would come? There's a prophecy for every one of those 12 sons. Okay, then
Right.
shall the offering of Yehuda and Yerushalayim be pleasant unto YaHuWaH as in the days of old and as in former years. So days of old, former years, perhaps if we must define the period from the time of Moshe to the first year of the reign of Solomon, Shalomo, our peace is what his name means, but we cannot be certain on this point. It seems to be one of the characteristics of MaLAKiY to be somewhat of a laudator temporis acti. I don't know what that means. Don't speak Latin. So this says, my covenant was with him of Chai and Shalom, and I gave them to him for the fear with which he feared me and was afraid before my name. Wow, what a great verse. Passage. And by the way, while we're here, it's just important to mention they have despised my name. That is an amazing video playlist. It takes less than an hour to watch. There was a time when I watched that every day for about a month. Like it's so profound.
It's worth going over again and again, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Do we want to look at Matthew Henry's concise commentary?
Let's do it.
So he says the first words of this chapter seem an answer to the scoffers of those days. Here is a prophecy of the appearing of Yahuchanan the Immerser. He is Mashiach's harbinger. Oh, there's a big word that we hear in today's world. Harbinger. He is Mashiach's harbinger. He shall prepare the way before him by calling men to repentance. And repentance, that word in Hebrew means to turn back. The Messiah had been long called, he that should come, and now shortly he will come. He is the messenger of the covenant. Those who seek Yahushua or Yeshua shall find pleasure in him, often when not looked for. The Adon Yahushua prepares the sinner's heart to be his temple. That's what Terri was saying. By the ministry of his word and the convictions of his Ruach, and he enters it as the messenger of peace and consolation. No hypocrite or formalist can endure his doctrine or stand before his tribunal. Mashiach came to distinguish men, to separate between the precious and the vile. Wow, that's a huge sentence. Let's read it again. Mashiach came to distinguish men, to separate between the precious and the vile. I love that.
That's what Kadesh
Yeah,
means.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, and I mean, I never thought about him coming to distinguish.
The Hebrew word
separate.
Kadesh, set apart.
Yeah,
We are cut off. We are put aside for a special purpose.
and when we think about the things that he said, he would talk about so many different separations, so many separations. That he would feast with the sinners, and he came to not to preach to those who didn't need a doctor, but to those who did. So many separators he talked about. He shall sit as a refiner. Mashiach by his Besorah, his Tob news, shall purify and reform his assembly, his called out assembly. We talked about that word this morning in our meeting before this recording. It's called out assembly is what the original language would say. And by his Ruach, working with it, shall regenerate and cleanse souls. He will take away. So there is a cleaning of souls happening, a regeneration and cleaning of souls. He will take away the dross found in them. He will separate their corruptions, which render their faculties worthless and useless.
Wow.
Again, separate their corruptions, which render their faculties worthless and useless. The believer needs not fear the fiery trial of afflictions and temptations by which the Savior refines his gold. He will take, by the way, it says fiery, fiery trial of afflictions and temptations. He will take care it is not more intense or longer than is needful for his Tob. And this trial will end far otherwise than that of the wicked. This trial will end far other. That's sort of a weird sentence to me. And this trial will end far otherwise than that of the wicked. Okay, so the
fiery trial of afflictions.
Yeah,
Don't fear the fiery trial of afflictions.
Yeah,
because it will end.
Yeah, your afflictions are going to end differently than the afflictions of the wicked.
Yeah, got it.
Mashiach will, by interceding for them, make them accepted. Where no fear of Elohim is, no Tob is to be expected. Okay, that's a great sentence right there. Where no fear of Elohim is, no Tob is to be expected. Evil pursues sinners. That also is a huge sentence. And it needs to be
it is. It's
understood. Evil pursues sinners. And this says,
it's like demons pursue. If you're already a sinner and you've opened a portal into yourself, then evil is going to pursue you even more. You've got an open portal, then they're going to flood in.
So it says Elohim is unchangeable, and we read that in the verse. And though the sentence against evil works be not executed speedily, yet it will be executed. So we're talking about like a judge room sentence, with a judge, and he hands down the sentence. Though the sentence against evil works be not executed speedily, yet it will be executed. The Adon or the master is as much an enemy to sin as ever. We may all apply this to ourselves, because what do we have to do with? We have to do with an Elohim that changes not. Therefore it is that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not.
That's encouraging.
Yes. Okay, then and shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem, the law, the new revelation of Elohim was to Isaiah 2 verse 3, which says, does it tell us what it says?
I'm gonna go there.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes it'll tell us what it says.
So it'll give us a new tag with it. We'll go for the things you need. That's generally the best.
All
And
right.
many people go and say, "Come ye and let us go up to the mountain of YaHuWaH, to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Sion shall go forth the Lord of the Torah, and the word of YaHuWaH from Jerusalem."
Hey, can you read that again? It's just, I mean, it's important. It's really an important verse.
I'd like to go get it in the ISR.
Okay.
ISR 2:3. One, two, three. Up to the mountain of YaHuWaH, to the house of the Elohim of Yaakov, and let him teach us his ways, and let us walk in his paths. For out of Zion comes forth the Torah, and the word of YaHuWaH from Jerusalem. Oh, there you go. always check what's next.
Yeah.
We shall judge. Yeah. Yeah.
Be back in a moment.
Yeah. It shall judge. All right. So if we go back here, and yeah, look, like I said, I thought that whenever you see the word law in in scripture, it's generally Torah. It means Torah. It was never done away with. So this footnote says his ways, his paths, the teaching and the word of YaHuWaH are used synonymously. Okay. And word is capitalized there, which means it's probably YaHuWaH. Okay. Okay, they've put the same footnote, which doesn't make any sense if we wanted to look at that, but we're not on Isaiah today. We're in Malachi 3. Oh, so we've looked at that. Oh, here you go. So there's a small quote from it here. Go forth from Zion, and the word of YaHuWaH from Jerusalem. What's YaHuWaH, was it? Yep, the word of YaHuWaH from Jerusalem. So you need to check. You need to check. You know how to use the interlinear and get in there and just work out what this is a title. This is a title. Work out what it really says. And whenever you hear the word, the term "the word," it's usually pointing to the Messiah. All right, so Judah and Jerusalem then are here. The believers' assembly, I'll say. They shall be pleasant, literally sweet, unto YaHuWaH. It is a reversal, using the self-same word, of what Elohim had said of them in the time of their religious decay. And we know Hosea 9:4 says, they shall not offer wine offerings to YaHuWaH, neither shall they be sweet unto him. The burnt offerings are not acceptable, nor your sacrifice. Was it Hosea 6:6? Write it down. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Was that one? Where is it? It was Hosea 6:6. Yep. They said, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Were they opposites? We talked about that in the last Shabbat study when we did Romans 9. The story of Hosea is about a rebellious people, and that's probably another one that feeds into this idea of tithing, isn't it, Terri? I desire mercy, not sacrifice. But as in the days of old, before the days of degeneracy, great word, that one. It's been everywhere right now. As it stands in the ancient liturgies, vouchsafe to look upon them, the consecrated oblations, with a propitious and serene countenance, and to accept them as you vouchsafe to accept the gifts of thy righteous Abel and the sacrifice of our patriarch Abraham and the holy sacrifice, the immaculate offering which thy high priest Melchizedek offered unto thee. Very, very old language there. The oblation of the sacrament of the Eucharist. Okay, so we're talking about Catholicism here. The Eucharist made by the Jews. That is an oxymoron to me. That's just strange. The oblation of the sacrament of the Eucharist made by the Jews who should believe in Mashiach, which is known to have been first instituted by Mashiach in the city of Jerusalem and afterwards to have been continued by his disciples. It's in Matthew 26:29, Acts 2:42 and Acts 2:46. That whole phrase there is an oxymoron at best. Yeah.
Are we still, we passed Matthew Henry, correct?
Yeah. No, we started on Barnes.
Barnes, that's it, yeah.
And we've gotten to have a look at Isaiah 2:3. And I'll talk quickly then about Hosea 6:6. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, which was said, which we spoke about last week in our Shabbat study on Romans 9. And yeah, this whole thing just does not make sense. This is very old language, which is hard to understand when you're talking about propitious and serene countenance and consecrated oblations.
So yeah, he's talking about accepting the gifts of righteous Abel and the sacrifice of patriarch Abraham.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice, the immaculate offering, which your high priest Melchizedek, which is Malki, my messenger of righteousness, Zedek,
Yeah.
offered unto you.
So yeah, just this whole next section here is just weird.
Yeah, it is.
You've got Eucharist, Jews, and Mashiach all in the same. Yeah, just okay. I don't know who the writer was or what they were thinking at the time, but they've mixed so many different theologies there that I'm confused.
So if we're trying to get down to the point of what he's saying, though, he's saying that this practice of keeping the, quote, the Lord's Supper, that this is supposed to be pleasing unto the Lord, or this is supposed to be pleasing to YaHuWaH, as the sacrifices of the patriarchs Melchizedek, Abraham, and the Kadosh priest in the law as Aaron. Yea, the truth takes precedence of the figure and shadow. So they're talking about types and shadows here. The sacrifice of the new law is more excellent and acceptable to Elohim than all the sacrifice of the law or before the law. Right.
Okay, I'm just like, I'm happy to skip right over this because it's got nothing to do with clothing. I'm just like, yeah, let's look at something else.
This
something a bit.
It reeks a little bit of what we hear when people say, if the law is done away with, then why does the church require the tithe?
Yeah. So that's just the same.
The offering is not expiatory, but prayer, thanksgiving, and self-dedication. Okay. So let's unpack that one a little bit.
Oh, okay, you're happy to look into that one. Well, we've got Malachi 1:1 we can look at.
The message of the word of YaHuWaH to Yasharel by Malachi. Okay, so did it just say 1:1?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh no, 1:11. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm thinking that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Ah,
For
from the rising.
Go ahead.
Well, from the rising of the sun even to its going down, my name is great among nations, and in every place incense is presented to my name, and a clean offering
Wow.
for my name is great among the nations. Oh, I was wondering about this.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to burn incense? So that's saying yes.
Yeah.
You have to. Going to do incense, you do it in his name. But if you don't know his name, are you doing it wrong?
Yeah, and really to study incense in the scriptures, that's a whole other thing than
And tithing. So we're,
well,
we're talking about an offering here.
yes. So here you've got incense, but I was going to say that there is a formula for incense. It's not what you go down and buy incense at the incense shop.
Yeah.
So there is a specific incense that he's talking about here. I believe. Now it could be that he would look at our heart and see that we are making some sort of offering to him, that I don't think that he would mind that. I'm not a big I don't like the smells of incense, but that's just
I know some people do, and they're like, do it, whatever you do it unto the Father, and he'll be happy about that. And we know in the temple there was incense.
Yeah, there was a censer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there was a specific incense they were burning there in the temple.
Yeah.
But in every
It was a mixture.
yeah.
But this is the frankincense and myrrh thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was like what I've read, really precise measurements of it was exact what was supposed to be in there.
I think the whole point is to yeah, that's in the temple, but outside of the temple, because this is saying in every place. I think this could even be brought in the sense of people that light a candle that has a perfume to it.
Yeah.
The idea behind it being that everything we do, that we would be honoring to YaHuWaH, we would be mindful of YaHuWaH. There's that concept as well. And a clean offering, like what does it mean to have a clean offering? Well, he probably tells us in here, by the way. We could just go a couple more verses here. For my name is great among nations, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, but you are profaning me in that you say the table of YaHuWaH is defiled, and its food is despicable. And you said, oh, what weariness, and you sneered at it, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, and you brought in plunder and the lame and the sick. So this would be a not clean offering. Thus you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand? Cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock and makes a vow, but is slaughtering to YaHuWaH what is blemished. For I am a great sovereign, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, and my name is feared among nations.
What a great statement. It's there twice too. For my name is great among nations, and my name is feared among nations. Beautiful.
And there's a tying to his name with a clean offering right there in verse 11.
Reminds me of in verse 12, the table of YaHuWaH is defiled and its food is despicable. Like the altar that Cain built, and the fruit and his produce from the land was not acceptable.
And he talks here also about being this great sovereign. We just had, quote, a sovereign coronation. Could you imagine if the people that were presenting all of the food for that event, if they brought like lame, sick animals to feed for this sovereign's coronation? Like it's a physical example that it's modern day. We could imagine some great king being honored, that you would not bring him your sick animals. Like this is the kind of disgust YaHuWaH showing here. Like, how dare you? I'm to be honored. My name is feared among the nations. But you're bringing me your sick like I'm just some throwaway king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be, I was just thinking, had a visual of, wouldn't it be something if King Charles washed the feet in humility of the, the people around him that were doing, the ceremony? Wouldn't it be something if he did that? Or I thought before he was anointed on his head, and here our Redeemer was anointed on his feet, so humble.
Yeah. I saw a great video where someone was comparing King Charles to Yahushua, and they're different. Obviously 2,000 years separating them, but just the one's humility and the other's pomp and circumstance. But in fact, Yahuwah deserves pomp and circumstance, and I think that is that's the visual that we should take away. And it's sad that we have to have a human like modern times visual to even, and maybe not a righteous example, but we can all assume giving honor to that sovereign, but it's harder for us to imagine, whatever I'm offering today, I'm offering it to the greatest sovereign ever. Is not even human. Supernatural, the creator of everything. That's the one I'm offering to, whatever I'm offering.
Yeah, great point. So we had 2-5 as well. So we can 5. My covenant with him was Kai and Shalom, and I gave them to him to fear. And he feared me and stood in awe of my name. So who are we talking about there? My covenant with Louis. So the Levitical priesthood.
Yeah. And there is a scripture in Malachi. I'm not sure where it is, but it talks about maybe this is it here. I'm probably just not starting right at the beginning. Yeah. That he feared his name. And now, O priest, this command is for you. If you do not hear, and if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your Barakot. And indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. Wow. So these are the teachers. These are the people that are supposed to be standing in the gap between YaHuWaH and the people, praying for the people, bringing righteousness down to the people, teaching the people. And so YaHuWaH requires it of these teachers. If you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name. I have a little bit of a beef with the people who take on Yah, but they don't take on the whole name of YaHuWaH. They're giving esteem to the first 2 letters, but not the second 2 letters. Every letter in the name of YaHuWaH and Yahushua is important. To give esteem to my name. If you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your Barakot. And indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed and scatter dung before your faces, the dung of your festivals. And he doesn't like their festivals. And you shall be taken away with it. You shall be taken away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this command to you as being my covenant with Louis, said YaHuWaH of Hosts. My covenant with him was Chai and Shalom, and I gave them to him to fear, and he feared me and stood in awe of my name. So maybe we go beyond this. The Torah of truth was in his mouth, and unrighteousness was not found on his lips. He walked with me in shalom and straightness, and turned many away from crookedness. So that's what he did. That's what Louis did. For the lips of a priest should guard knowledge, and they seek the Torah from his mouth, for he is the messenger of YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. So here's your messenger with the quote little m.
Yeah.
The priest is the messenger of YaHuWaH of Hosts, just like Terri was saying.
Well, it says we'll be priests for him, right?
But the lips of a priest shall guard knowledge, and they shall seek the Torah. So that's what we're doing today. We are seeking the instruction of YaHuWaH about the tithe. And then verse 8, but you have turned away, you have turned from the way, you have caused many to stumble in the Torah. You have corrupted the covenant of Louis, said YaHuWaH of Hosts. And then it says, and I shall make you despised and low before all the people, because you are not guarding my ways and are showing partiality in the Torah.
Wow.
So he's against that. Partiality in the Torah. Have we not all one Father? Did not one El create us? Why do we act treacherously? That's like a traitor. Against one another to profane the covenant of the fathers. YaHuWaH has acted treacherously, and an abomination has been done in Yasharel. So he's talking about all 12 tribes here, the southern tribes and the northern tribes. YaHuWaH has acted treacherously, and an abomination has been done in Yasharel and in Yerushalayim. For YaHuWaH has profaned what is kadosh to YaHuWaH, which he had loved, and has married the daughter of a foreign mighty one. Okay. So this is saying that this foreign deity has daughters. The foreign deity has daughters. There are people that belong to that foreign deity, and YaHuWaH had married them. For YaHuWaH has profaned what is kadosh to YaHuWaH, which he had loved, and has married the daughter of a foreign mighty one. Let YaHuWaH cut off from the tents of Yaakov the man who does this, stirring up or answering and bringing an offering to YaHuWaH of Hosts. So here again, we're talking about an offering. Yeah. And this you have done a second time. You cover the altar of YaHuWaH with tears, with weeping and crying, because he no longer regards the offering, nor receives it with pleasure from your hands. And you said, why? Because YaHuWaH has been witness between you and the wife of your youth, against whom you have acted treacherously, though she is your companion and the wife of your covenant.
Break.
Yeah. And did he not make one? And he had the remnant of the Ruach. And he had the remnant of the Ruach. And what is the one alone? He seeks a seed of Elohim. So you shall guard your Ruach, and let none act treacherously against the wife of his youth. So he's very concerned about this kadosh offspring between a man and a woman of YaHuWaH. For I hate divorce, said YaHuWaH, Elohim of Yasharel, and the one who covers his garment with cruelty, said YaHuWaH of Hosts. So you shall guard your Ruach, and do not act treacherously. Do not act like a traitor against your wife. You have wearied YaHuWaH with your words, and you have said, in what way have we wearied him? In that you say, everyone who does evil is Tob in the eyes of YaHuWaH. Okay, so what does this sound like to y'all? Everyone who does evil is Tob in the eyes of YaHuWaH, and he is delighting in them. Or where is...
Do whatever you want, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole Jesus is our righteousness. We don't have to do anything in the law. That's the definition.
Yeah.
Christian Gentile.
Yeah.
It doesn't line up when you read the whole word. What honors the Father? No, these things do not honor the Father.
Well, where is the Elohim of right ruling? Like, we don't see the Father acting on any of this. We can do whatever we want. Do what they will.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's not judging us.
He's not coming. No, that's the myth.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about some offering in here.
Yeah, so that was Malachi 2. And Malachi 2, 5, and 6. So it was just those two verses. So the offering, mincha in Hebrew. Okay, so it's given us a word. is not expiatory, but prayer, thanksgiving, and self-dedication. Okay. So I'd like to go and have a look at this word mincha then.
Yeah, so we would see it, for instance, in that last chapter we were just reading. They talked about offering.
5 and 6 said, so no. No offering word there. Hebrews 13. No, they're all New Testament. We'll only get Greek there. Right, well, we can go find mincha.
Did you see they'll be in Greek in Malachi?
No, the other ones were New Testament.
Oh, got it. Sorry, I'm
So,
distracted
how would we
by the
spell-
blood person.
How would we spell mincha?
Well, I wouldn't be a C. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Just a guess. I'm just guessing. Yeah.
Yep, there you go.
Sometimes I get it right. I'm trying to make the English from what types.
Very good, Bonnie.
Well, it's phonetic. You just work out the sounds.
Yeah, usually when they have a
That's
C,
the sound.
they're talking about a het.
Yeah, when you see a CH, it's generally going to be a het. Yeah, that's my. Could it be a calf? You know, I'd start with a het and then maybe do a calf if you can't find it. And an R sound on the end could just be an aleph, couldn't it? But generally, it's a hay sound, as in YaHuWaH. All right, so we've got mincha, H4503, a gift tribute offering. First occurrence Genesis 4:3. So of the ground, an offering unto YaHuWaH. So that would be Cain and Abel. Story of Cain and Abel. Same thing there. Presents. Interesting. Okay. My present as a presence.
Seems like it's talking about fruits and vegetables and oil and
Yeah, you've got all the different types of offering.
meat.
So there we go. So the Strong's exhaustive definition is gift, oblation, meat offering, present, as in gift, and sacrifice. From an unused root meaning to apportion, i.e. bestow, a donation, euphemistically tribute, specifically a sacrificial offering, usually bloodless and voluntary. Gift, oblation, an offering or a meat offering, a present, and a sacrifice. Interesting. And you know what I want to do now is I want to go over here to Webster's 1828.
You're going to look up oblation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like I've
One of
heard
those
Yahushua
words. Yeah.
compared to, or that word associated with Yahushua, oblation, like a sacrifice.
I've heard of it before, but it's like, okay, what is it? So it's a noun, to bear or bring. Anything offered or presented in worship or sacred service and offering a sacrifice.
Yeah, so Yahushua was an oblation for us.
We had Isaiah 1:13 there. Bring no more vain oblations.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, look at that. We're talking about incense. Incense is an abomination unto me. There's the other side of it. Oh.
I don't know. It looks like it's talking about, it says Newman's and
Yeah.
but maybe he's talking about the wrong kind of incense.
Yeah, look, it's just
Yeah, that's his vein oblation. So
yeah.
Yeah, he's got something. He's got another beef happening in this chapter, I believe.
Yeah, it's a different
Their
beef than
sin,
anyway.
their sin. He doesn't want them bringing offerings because they're living in sin. There's that sort of a concept.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
okay.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to look at that word oblation. So it is literally a sacred, we'll say a sacred sacrifice. There, Isaiah. Thank you. So something presented in a sacred sense, or a Kadesh sense, a set apart sense, in service to the Father. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, Terry, that makes me think of when you were talking about the doula, that there's like a sacred rite of passage that's happening for the person who's dying, and that
Yeah.
there may be something that's sacred to them, that they're making an offering or a presentation as they're leaving this earth. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right. But it may not be vain. I guess it could be vain. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
It's sacred.
it could be their understanding, as you said, if they want a cigarette or if they want vodka, then that's their dying wish. That's where it's kind of like the man who's on death row, who has his last meal and he gets to choose whatever he wants, right? It's like that's his last meal that he's eating on this earth, and he's has an opportunity to make things right with the Creator or not. It's his choice.
Yeah.
I think if I was in a situation like that, I would be like, just let my, maybe just fasting, in repentance, and just, but even
Yeah.
whatever it was, but I would be making some sort of this is my last meal on this earth with the Creator. A lot of people don't have that opportunity to know this is my last meal. This is my last moments on this earth that I can try to repent and make everything, bring everything to the Father and say, please forgive me. I've done this, that, or the other. Make everything as right as we can. Repent. He says, if we start out righteous and we end up wicked, we will be declared wicked. And if we start out wicked and we end up righteous, we'll be declared righteous.
Yeah. Okay, so this could include money. It could include agricultural goods.
Can we scroll down again, Bonnie, to there was another thing I saw in the definition as well. I think it was to apportion. Like that's the root word, is to apportion. So there's a portioning.
So it could be, it's your time also. It's a portion of your time.
Yes.
That you're giving.
Yes. And who's going to qualify that? That's YaHuWaH's business to qualify that offering. From an unused root, meaning to a portion. It doesn't, nowhere on here does it say cash or tithe. Yeah. That's not part of this word. It does say a portion.
And it does say tribute.
Mm-hmm. It says
tribute can be money. I mean, I'm just thinking of Romans, tribute, money, gold, silver.
Yeah. And isn't that kind of what a tax is regarded as a tribute to the
right
or the government or whatever? Yeah. And it says
like you conquer like a tax. Yeah. Pay your tribute. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But a tribute could be agricultural, too.
Yes, and originally it was.
Yeah, that was your wealth. Tribute could be your animals, part of your flock, or a cow.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking about even a reverse tithe, in the sense of back to the garden. There was one tree that they couldn't eat. There was one thing that was off limits, and that's the one thing that they could have had anything. They could have had access to the tree of high, but they chose the wrong tree. The one thing that was like, no, you can't have this one part. It's like there's almost like a reverse of a tithe concept in what you can't do. When you get married, you can be intimate with your spouse, but you can't be intimate with anybody else. There's a this is what's off limits. It's not an offering. It's the opposite of an offering. It's a boundary.
Or a vain offering, as he said, a vain oblation.
Yeah.
What do we think about this part? It's a bloodless one.
Yeah, so this is the ones that don't well, and on the weird, it also says meat offering just below that.
Yeah.
So it says usually bloodless. So maybe a meat offering is not outside of the duckies. Go.
Well, we know the widow gave everything, and that was in money. Her temple taxes, I believe, were done in mites or coinage.
So there it says from an unused root, meaning to a portion. She evidently gave all she had. So I don't know that that's technically an apportion, but on the other hand, if that's all she had, maybe it's because she had already apportioned to other things what she had before that, anywhere in life. But this was the end of what she had. This was the last portion of what she had.
But
what if the only thing you have is the smallest coin?
Yeah, like a mite.
There is no other option. You have, I mean, here in Australia, it's a 5-cent piece. That's all I have. And if that is, I'm giving 100% of everything I have. That's what that widow's mite thing means. Oh.
Yeah, and then he also, remember, the Pharisees were trying to trick him, and they said, should we pay Caesar taxes unto Caesar? And he said, show me your coin. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So that's a hard one for me, because our taxes are so incredible. They're like ridiculous. So, the government's wicked. Are we supposed to continue to pay these exorbitant taxes that are not fair?
Well, we're in this, I personally think we're in a bit of a system of bondage, but it's sort of a soft bondage. We're not aware we're in bondage, but the time will come, I believe, when we'll know we're in bondage. And I believe the time will come when Yahuwah says, let my people go, and we'll see all those plagues poured out. But the people cried out to the Father before that happened. So we're not quite at that place where the populace in general is crying out for their supernatural deliverer, I don't think. But I think
so that means, we're supposed to pay our full tax bill, taxes on your car, taxes on your house, taxes on your property, where it sounds like we're to continue that, render unto Caesar what he says. Yeah. Even though it's not fair, it's not right. It wasn't fair or right to the Israelite, the Hebrews either, or to in Jerusalem. It wasn't right. They took all of it. They took too much tribute, leaving the people to basically starve, almost just barely alive.
I think we're heading in that direction. In a hot minute here, I think we're going to see such major changes, and that the people will start crying out to the Creator. I
think they're going to start crying out to the government first, and then that's a civil war.
Yeah, you
maybe
mean against the government?
Yeah,
crying out.
They're already starting to.
Yep, they're
cry out against them, and that's a civil war. Well, maybe not a civil war. The people against the people. It's the people against the government. It's a revolution. It's a revolution.
Yeah, they don't want that. They do not want that. But
nope.
I think it's coming down the pipe.
Isn't a present and a gift by definition something voluntary?
Yeah. Yeah, but
not
the
something
tribute is
that
not.
is demanded a tribute. A tribute is a demand, isn't it, or a tax? But a gift.
Well,
And a license, I
gift.
suppose.
It's technically like a forced gift. Like,
Yeah.
you have to keep this king happy because otherwise he'll put us in this, that, or the other situation.
Yeah.
So the temple tax was something that the Levites or the Pharisees imposed. I mean, it could be similar to a tithe, don't you think?
Well, there were requirements YaHuWaH
temple-
had also, but it was a very
Was so was the temple tax a requirement? The temple tax? Yeah, I think it was, because I think one of the disciples had to pay his temple tax or something.
So we've been on the commentaries for verse 4, 5, and 6 pretty much.
Yeah.
Have we?
Let's move forward.
Yeah.
All right, so here's another in verse 7, just real quick. Another thing he has against: from the days of your fathers you have turned aside from my laws and did not guard them. Okay, so this was important, from the days of your fathers, and I think there's a big thing that people don't know who their fathers are. There's ignorance there. There's 2,000, 4,000 years of not knowing who the fathers are. We've been separated from that knowledge, which is why we recommend that people watch Identity Crisis here and learn what the scriptures say about who we are, who our identity comes from. And it's obviously here in YaHuWaH's plan. You have turned aside from my laws and did not guard them. Turn back to me and I shall turn back to you. But you said, and what shall we turn back? Would a man rob Elohim? Yet you are robbing me. So now he's calling a turning back about this tithe and the offering. But you said, in what way have we robbed you? In the tithe and the offering. So here we're going to get down to the meat of why we even came together today to talk about this. In the tithe and the offering. You have cursed me with a curse, for you are robbing me, this nation, all of it. Okay, so now we're talking about this whole nation, which is, again, 12 sons of Yaakov, Israel, the whole house of Israel. You're robbing me, this nation, all of it. So he regards this as cursing him with a curse. All right, should we go look at the commentary there on verse 8?
Yeah. 7 or just verse 8? Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on.
It's interesting that it's kind of tied together, turning back to YaHuWaH with the tithe and offering. Didn't it seem that way?
Yeah.
Verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers, you are gone away from mine ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, says YaHuWaH of Hosts. But you have said, wherein shall we return? And he goes right into the tithe and the offering. Yeah.
Feigned innocent. Ooh. Ooh.
Feigned innocence. Wow.
Slap.
Yeah, so Cambridge there on the right side says we're going to this is going to be a rebuke in the matter of tithes and offerings. So this is an area that they were definitely taking advantage and doing what they wanted to do, calling it the shots as they wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Like Cain.
Yeah. Oh, let's read this this dialogue with Elohim here in McLaren's exposition. It looks interesting. In previous sermons, we have considered Elohim's indictment of man's sin met by man's plea of not guilty and Elohim's threatenings brushed aside by man's question. Here we have the climax of self-revealing and patient love in Elohim's wooing voice to draw the wanderer back, met by man's refusing answer. These three divine utterances taken together cover the whole ground of his speech to us. And alas, these three human utterances but two truly represent, for the most part, our answers to him. So Elohim's invitation to his wandering child, the favored invitation of our text, presupposes a state of departure. So state of departure. The child who is tenderly recalled has first gone away. Sounds like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a breach of love. Dependence has been unwelcome and cast off with the vain hope of a larger freedom in the far-off land. Wow, so prodigal son. And this, a larger freedom in the far-off land. I have a son that's going through this kind of idea mentality right now. And this is the true charge against us. It is not so much individual acts of sin, but the going away in heart and ruach from our Father Elohim, which describes the inmost essence of our true condition and is itself the source of all our acts of sin.
Wow.
Conscience confirms the description. Huh, Bonnie?
Sorry, just I had to move it up.
Conscience confirms the description. We know that we have departed from him in mind, having wasted our thoughts on many things and not having him in the multitude of them in us. We have departed from him in heart, having squandered our love and dissipated our desires on many objects and sought in the multiplicity of many pearls, some of them only paste a substitute for the all-sufficient simplicity of the one of great price. We have departed from him in will, having reared up puny inclinations and fleeting passions against his calm and eternal purpose.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
about the shock of a collision as destructive to us as when a torpedo boat crashes in the dark against a battleship and cut in two sinks. The favoring invitation of our text follows, I am YaHuWaH, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Threatenings and the execution of these in acts of judgment are no indication of a change in the loving heart of Elohim. And because it is the same, however, we have sinned against it and departed from it, there is ever an invitation and a welcome. We may depart from him, but he never departs from us, nor does he wait for us to originate the movement of return, but he invites us back. He always initiates. By all his words in his threatenings and in his commandments, as in the acts of providence, of his providence, we can hear his call to return. Hallelujah. The fathers of our flesh never cease to long for their prodigal child's return. So saying male fathers, human fathers, rather, not male fathers, human fathers never cease to long for their prodigal child's return. I'll say that for mothers too. You know, it's in our mothers' hearts that our children return. And their patient persistence of expectation is but brief and broken when contrasted with the infinite long suffering of the father of Ruachot. We have heard of a mother who for long empty years has nightly set a candle in her cottage window to guide her wandering boy back to her heart. And Elohim has bade us think more loftily of the unchangeableness of his love than that of a woman who may forget that she should not have compassion upon the son of her womb. Wow.
That was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Man's answer to Elohim's invitation. So here's what man says. It is a refusal which is half veiled and nonetheless real. There is no unwillingness to obey professed, but it is concealed under a mask of desiring a little more light as to how a return is to be accomplished. There are not many of us who are rooted enough in evil as to be able to blurt out a curt, I will not, in answer to his call. Conscience often bars the way to such a plain and unmannerly reply, but there are many who try to cheat Elohim and who do to some extent cheat themselves by professing ignorance of the way which would lead them to his heart. Some of us have learned only too well to raise questions about the method of salvation instead of accepting it, and to dabble in theology instead of making sure work of return. Wow. Instead of making sure work of return. Some of us would fain substitute a host of isolated actions or apparent moral or religious observance for the return of will and heart to Elohim. And all who in their consciences answer Elohim's call by saying, "Wherein shall we return?" with such a meaning are playing tricks with themselves and trying to hoodwink Elohim.
Oh, whoa. Wow.
Don't move it up, Bonnie.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I see green lines.
Yeah.
Sandra, what are you doing? You press the annotate button. Hang on, stop sharing so again.
Shalom, Sandra.
Sorry about that. I dropped my phone and I was trying to catch it.
Okay. I think, geez, you've done some great squiggling there, girl. Okay.
Okay. But the question of our text is often a nobler origin and comes from the depths of a troubled heart. Not seldom does Elohim's loving invitation rouse the dormant conscience to the sense of sin. The man lying broken at the foot of the cliff down which he has fallen and seeing the brightness of Elohim far above has his heart racked with the question, how am I with lame limbs to struggle back to the heights above? How shall man be just with Elohim? All the religions of the world with their offerings and penances and weary toils are vain attempts to make a way back to the Elohim from whom men have wandered. And that question, wherein shall we return, is really the meaning of the world's vain seeking and profitless effort. Elohim has answered man's question, for Mashiach is at once the way back to Elohim, and the motive which draws us to walk in it. He draws us back by the magnetism of his love and sacrifice. We return to Elohim when we cling to YaHuWaH. He is the highest, the tenderest utterance of the divine voice, and when we yield to his invitation to himself, we return to Elohim. He calls to each of us, come unto me, and I will give you rest. What can we reply but I come, let me never wander from thee? Okay, so I disagree with what he's saying here because that's not in the text. That is not what YaHuWaH is saying here as I'm reading it.
Okay, you switch part.
Let's go back and review the scripture. I mean,
Yeah.
he's interjecting this, but this is not what the scripture is actually saying.
Didn't get to point 3. I thought you said there was 3 points to this.
I know. Is it at the top of the next side?
No.
Oh, okay. What is the top of the next side?
These 3 human utterances.
Yeah. What's at the top of the right?
You know, we've got Benson's down next. And the top of the next side, where, you know,
On the
there'll be
right
something
side?
else.
What happens
Yeah.
on the right side there?
Cambridge.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they just cut off the third thing or whatever it was.
Oh, well, it said that there's 3 parts. To
Yeah,
the-
I saw that.
Three parts.
Yeah. Well, let's go back and look at the scripture real quick and see, you know, does he make a point here? Is he proving that this is pointing to YaHuWaH is the answer? In what way shall we turn back? And then does he talk about YaHuWaH or he's talking about the tithe and the offering. I mean, maybe he's talking about YaHuWaH as the offering. Verse 8, would a man rob Elohim? Yet you were robbing me. But you said, in what way have we robbed? In what have we robbed you? In the tithe and the offering. And then he goes straight into, you have cursed me with a curse, for you are robbing me, this nation, all of it. Verse 10, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, and let there be food in my house. And please prove me in this, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, whether I do not open for you the windows of the heavens and shall pour out for you boundless Biracoat. Okay, I don't see the Mashiach there. I think we're talking about a physical, something Yahuwah expects this whole nation to bring to the storehouse, wherever the storehouse is.
Can we look that word up in Hebrew and see what storehouse means?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's commentary. 310. Yeah, already. Here's one I preferred earlier.
Otsar.
There it is, up at the top. There it is. 214, 214.
Otsar.
Well, we know oat. Oat is, oh no, it's a zadi.
Letter.
It would tau, it would be mark sign, but it's a zadi instead.
So treasure store, a treasury storehouse. Is there?
And Deuteronomy 28.
Unto thee is good treasure, the heaven. Unto thee is good treasure, the heaven. Well, we know that's not talking about money.
Treasures, in the treasures. Look, there it is. Armory, cellar, garner, storehouse, treasure house. From Atzar, the depository, armory, cellar, garner, storehouse, treasure house. Okay, well, let's have a look at Atzar as well. Probably just the next one along. We're on 214. Oh no.
Would you think that the
That one starts Aleph and that one starts with Aleph Zion. So we've got Aleph Wa Zion Resh and Aleph Wa Iron Resh. Sorry, Della?
I was gonna
Nice.
It's making me think of the where it says store up or lay up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah. Or treasures in your heart and bring it. Yeah, I'm sure there's some interesting scriptures. There are only 5 occurrences of this one. So the primitive root, to store up, lay up and store, to treasure, to make treasure, or a treasurer. Make treasurer. It's a person on a committee generally, but yeah.
Lay up and store. That makes
Put
me.
something aside as being precious. That's what it means to treasure something.
Terry, I was thinking about how, so each of these 12 tribes, they've become nations in the world today, and they're spread, besides the seed being scattered into all nations. I was thinking about, like, for instance, in the United States, I'm sure Australia has their version of this. In France is the tribe of Reuben. We've got England, which is Ephraim. That you have the Social Security office where every employee pays their taxes, and a portion of their taxes goes into the Social Security office. And then that Social Security pays out to people when they retire and when if they're disabled, which is and even beyond that, I don't know that it comes out of the Social Security office at all, but if eventually probably that's the taxes are paying out to the poverty feeding programs, housing programs. So there's a sense of bringing stuff together. It's a scriptural concept, bringing in and paying into a treasury, a depository, where then it can go out to care for the needs of those in society who need it. It's just a great picture of a storehouse, a depository.
Yeah, remember there's a great who was it between the Greeks, and they said our widows are not getting enough of the treasury. Remember, they were squabbling about their widows not getting enough.
Yeah, then you have the hands of the wicked men that get involved there and try to insert themselves, and then they're abusing the purposes of those things. And then for YaHuWaH's storehouse, we have the priest back in the day. What do we have now? Are we supposed to pay?
Creflo Dollar.
Yeah,
We have,
exactly.
we have Creflo Dollar and Joyce Meyer and
And these people don't even walk in the name of YaHuWaH. His name ought to be super important with these offerings. He's tied his name to the offerings. Right? In Malachi.
yeah, that's why they're gonna fall.
He's tied his name. These people ought to be knowing his name and serving him. They sure ought to know his name. They ought to know his appointed times. They ought to be teaching the people rightness.
Yeah, part of maybe why I hate your vain offerings. I mean, they're just buying airplanes with it, you know,
Yeah.
and
Or like Troy Miller was saying when we were listening earlier on Seven Trumpets Prepper, they aren't teaching the true Shabbat, because I heard two things. One is because of the ties. They don't want to lose the ties. And the other is they said the people are too stupid to learn it. What an offense that YaHuWaH's calendar that he teaches in his word, that they would say, well, the people are too stupid to learn it, so we're just going to leave it on this false Roman calendar. And we don't want
to. That's got huge implications for whoever made that decision, or whoever decided not to teach that, or made that assumption, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's against the Ruach, that the Ruach has not the capability of teaching truth.
So true. That is so true. I'm definitely seeing that he's tied his name to the offering there in Malachi. Like it's a curse to him.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this here? It is said, do not test Elohim.
Yeah, that's a good.
About this one here.
That's a good question.
It's one that's always fascinated me.
Yeah, your scripture's not up, Bonnie. Scripture's not up.
Oh, I'm not sharing?
No. Right now. We see your clock though.
It's 10 to 1.
No, it's not.
No, on your clock.
What do you think about this statement here? And it says, you know, we're not, and generally translations will say, test me in this. And it's like, we are told not to test the Father. But
that's interesting, isn't it?
In the interlinear, I want to
try me. It says try me.
Try me, and now try me in this. You know, test me about this, and see if I won't open the windows of heaven and pour out for you so much barakah that you won't have room enough for it. I'm like, that is just the most beautiful promise.
So look at 974. Try me and try me.
Yeah.
Because that's, and try me in this.
Yeah. So what does that mean? What is that? Verse 10. Try, test, try me in this. It's H974. But
you know, have we answered the question if we're supposed to pay tithe? I don't think we've answered it yet.
No, I don't think we are.
No, we haven't answered it yet.
If you
we have not answered it yet.
Yeah, okay.
But the scripture that you had right before this, it was sort of like, please go ahead and test me in this. Right. It was before that.
Hang on.
He was almost, it almost sounds like being a little bit facetious. Come on, go ahead and please prove me in this. Go on, prove me.
You know, it's meant to be a massive barakah, a massive blessing for us if we would donate 10% of whatever we earn to something that the Father shows us is in, you know, is in need. So is this the scripture? This to me is the scripture that says, okay, if you will be obedient to that idea, I will then pour out on you so much more. But this is scripture for me that says, yes, you should.
Okay, so it's plural. Bring all the tithes. Doesn't say bring me the tithes. So
we could look at that word too. You know, what's that?
Yeah,
word?
it's either like money or agriculture or time or what? Bring all of them into the storehouse. Bring all the tithes.
Right.
So
And
there, it sounds like they're.
he's talking to all 12 tribes. He's not necessarily
And then it goes on.
one person, right?
And then it goes, and let there be food in my house. So I don't know if that's in addition to that or that's inclusive of that. Bring all the tithes. If that's an additional, and let there be food in my house. Or if you fulfill the first part, then there's food in the house. Because you're bringing food into the storehouse.
And if you've got a pay it forward mindset with everyone, then there's never going to be lack, is there?
If you're enjoying this video, click like, subscribe, click the bell, and please share this video. Shalom. Let's get back to the video.
I think that's the idea of this whole thing. Is like if everyone gives a little, well, then there's always something for even the people with nothing.
Does the word tithes mean 10? Is that a word for 10?
We want to do. I will just quickly look at Bakar, which is the test me in this. You will be tested. Woo. And that was, I think, Yaakov giving his final barakah, his final blessings over the 12 tribes. Wow, look, Job. Oh dear. So much in Job. So to examine, to prove, to tempt, interesting. To try, trial. Primitive root, to test, especially metals, interesting. Generally and figuratively, to investigate. To examine, prove, tempt, try, and trial. So we're told not to test Elohim. It's probably worth looking for that scripture too. But in tithes and offerings, he has said, prove this, examine this, test me, and tempt me. That's just the whole idea of us tempting the Creator. I mean, it's just like, doesn't that mean we'll get struck down?
I'm thinking that sort of means do it. Go on and do it and just see.
I think so too.
Go on and do it and just watch what happens. Watch the good things that happen to you. Just go on and try it. Go on and do it. Because it's saying that, like, and please go ahead, prove me in this. Whether I do not open the storehouses, open the windows of heaven. It's like, please go ahead. Just start doing it and watch the windows of heaven open.
So I think this is the verse for me that says, yes, if you have an income, do it. Do it because it'll come back to you. It's like the parable of the sower. You know, it should come back to you 10, 50, 100 times. That's you know, and in ways that you won't expect. But
can you look at the word tithe?
But there's more things to give than money.
Yeah, I mean your time, like Bonnie, you're teaching, Darla, you're teaching, you're bringing into the storehouse, you know, teaching your students, you're bringing into
So we're going for this word tithe. So we can. It's 4-6. 4-6-4-3. Masa or Masra. How do they get a
Yeah.
how do they get a root in there with no resh?
It is a 10th, y'all.
10th part.
What do you mean no resh?
Oh, they've got Masra here. Masur, Masar, or Masra. How do they get a resh in there? How do they get an R sound in there with no resh? Oh, they do have a resh.
Yeah, there's resh there. Yeah.
So they could be and a. No, okay, fair enough.
So, okay, so here's the big question. Do we give a 10th of our income? Who do we give it to? Do
Well,
we
first
give it?
It's YaHuWaH that's doing the speaking. And then he's saying, put it in the storehouse.
So did we work out what the house was?
Did we work out what the storehouse was?
We should go back to review that. What is the storehouse in today's understanding? Where does YaHuWaH want us to put this tithe? Where would be a
In a store.
safe
If
place?
we are the temple,
Yeah.
does that give it another connotation again? You know.
Yeah, because what the treasury was kept in the temple, remember? Because that king showed off and showed the treasury in the
Oh, look at
temple,
that.
remember?
Look at that. The heavens is the
Yeah, we
storehouse.
saw that.
Oh, interesting. We can't put things in the heavens.
Oh, wait a minute. Deuteronomy 32:24. Wait a minute. I used that scripture in that sealed table up in my treasuries. So where your treasure is, there your heart is also. Remember that verse?
Let's visit that Deuteronomy 32, verse 34 then.
That's a powerful verse.
Oh.
Really powerful.
Yeah, so one of the things when I walked away for a moment to get the doggy some water, as I was thinking about, this is YaHuWaH that's speaking this. And he's already talking in Malachi about the children of other mighty ones. So it's important to know what deity we are putting those tithes and offerings toward, because that deity is getting stronger. That's the deity that's getting
right.
stronger than YaHuWaH, but I'm saying they have the capacity with what is brought into their storehouses to affect what their theology is.
Which would just further their greed or lust, actually lust.
They're teaching false Shabbat, false name of the creator. These people have studied Hebrew and Greek, these pastors. This is not like they don't know. But evidently, at least in the example we heard this morning, they think the people are too stupid to hear the truth and follow the truth. And they don't want
crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Is it not stored up with me, sealed up among my treasures?
Well, we have to go back a little bit here to get some context on what we're even talking about. We maybe not too far. Let's start with verse 24. I think I saw. See what it says here. Maybe one more. And one more.
My arrows. I use that one. My arrows. I use that one in this table. My arrows.
That is the question. Who is them? Foolish nation? No.
I gather evils upon them. Is that the daughters that married the mighty one? They slaughtered two demons.
Well, this is
mighty ones.
The bulls, the rams. I thought it was bulls of Bashan. Anyway.
I did too.
Yeah,
Okay, let's start with verse 9.
9.
In fact, 7. Sorry. All right. It's a profound chapter, evidently. Remember
So we're looking for the idea of what is the storehouse.
Yeah. Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask your father and let him show you, your elders and let them say to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Yasharel. Okay, he set the boundaries of the peoples of the earth according to the number of the children of Yasharel. That's huge right there. So we know he scattered these seed of Israel. Verse 9, for the portion of YaHuWaH is his people. Yaakov, so that's his portion. And we're talking about offerings and tithes and stuff. And YaHuWaH said that it brought on a curse. Yeah.
We were talking about apportioning earlier, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the portion of YaHuWaH.
We're back to the prodigal son again, where he got his portion of his inheritance early. He asked for it. And so
for the portion of YaHuWaH is his people, Yaakov his allotted inheritance. So that's his inheritance is Yaakov. Like if you don't want to be a part of Yaakov, that should be a problem for you.
And that's the 12 tribes.
Yep.
yeah, if you don't want to be part of that and that, then that is a problem. And if you know, you would know that.
That's just such a deep sentence right there. Like, how do you got to reckon with that in your soul and wrestle with that. The portion of YaHuWaH is his people, Yaakov, his allotted inheritance. He tells you who his people are right there. Did he change? No. So it tells us he found him in a wilderness and in a wasted, howling desert. He encompassed him. He made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirs up its nest, flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, bearing them on its wings. YaHuWaH alone led him, verse 12. And there was no strange mighty one with him. We got a lot of strange mighty one now, and some of it's real mighty. So mighty that people don't know the name of YaHuWaH. YaHuWaH alone led him. And there was no strange mighty one with him. To me, this is a more important part of this tithe question is YaHuWaH. YaHuWaH alone led him, and there was no strange mighty one with him. He made him ride in the heights of the earth, and he ate the fruit of the fields. And he made him to draw honey from the rock and oil from the flinty rock. Wow, we talk about oil a lot today, right? Men talk about oil. Curds from the cattle and milk of the flock with fat of lambs and rams of the breed of Bashan and goats with the choicest wheat, and you drank wine, the blood of the grapes. Okay, so none of this so far is really talking about American dollars or Australian dollars or Canadian dollars. But Yeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, you kicked, you grew thick, you are covered with fat. So he forsook Eloah who made him, Eloah, and scorned the rock of his deliverance. They moved.
What is this? The who? Is this Yeshurun? Who's that?
Yeah, I forget what that word means, but they're talking about Yasharel. That, in fact, is probably a play on words.
Okay.
We could go look at it, or we could just keep moving forward.
I think we should just keep going. Yeah. We're looking for tithing answers. Yeah.
They moved him to jealousy with foreign matters, or with abominations. They provoked him. Okay, they moved him to jealousy with what's foreign, and with abominations they provoked him. They slaughtered to demons, not Eloah. Mighty ones they did not know, new ones who came lately. In fact, that's what it means in Hebrew. the word Elohim Akarim, the phrase Elohim Akarim is latter day mighty ones, which your fathers did not fear. You neglected the rock who brought you forth, and forgot the El who fathered you. And YaHuWaH saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, let me hide my face from them. Let me see what their end is. For they are a perverse generation, children in whom there is no understanding. They made me jealous by what is not El. They provoked me with their worthless, but I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation. For a fire was kindled in my wrath and burns to the bottom of Sheol and consumes the earth and its increase and sets on fire the foundations of mountains. So here we're talking about the earth and its increase. I gather evils upon them. I use up my arrows upon them, wasted by scarcity of food and consumed by heat and bitter destruction. And the teeth of beasts I send upon them with the poison of serpents of the dust. Again, we're not really talking about dollars here. There's natural things that are brought. The sword bereaves from the outside and fear from within, both young man and maiden, nursing child with the man of gray hairs. I said I should blow them away. I should make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. If I did not fear the enemy's taunt, lest their adversaries misunderstand, lest they say, our hand is nigh, and YaHuWaH has not done all this. For they are a nation lost to counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would consider their latter end. I mean, that's an interesting definition for wisdom, considering your latter end. How would one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight unless their rock had sold them and YaHuWaH had given them up? So now he's talking about one oppressor chasing 1,000 of his men, or two putting 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them and YaHuWaH had given them up. For their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies are judges. Their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Amorah. That's an interesting concept there, right in verse 31. Even our enemies are judges. Their vine is of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Amorah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents and the fierce venom of cobras. Is it not stored up with me, sealed up among my treasures?
So that's the scripture
we're looking at. Yeah. Let me go a little bit further. Vengeance is mine and repayment at the time their foot slips, for near is the day of their calamity, and the prepared are hastening to them. For YaHuWaH rightly rules his people and has compassion on his servants. When he sees that their power is gone and there is no one remaining, shut up or at large. So it says that's when he's rightly ruling his people and his compassion on his servants. His compassion is kicked in when he sees their power is gone and there is no one remaining, shut up or at large. I mean, shut up or at large, that has a whole different meaning to us today. 3 years ago than 2 years ago than it did before that, to be shut up, right? Shut up or at large. And there's even if you're not shut up in your home, we're shut up where we can't talk. They don't want us to spread truth, or they call it disinformation and misinformation. And he shall say, where are their mighty ones, the rock in whom they sought refuge? Who ate the fat of their slaughterings and drank the wine of their drink offering? Let them arise and help you. Let it be a hiding place for you. So he's like, turn to your false mighty ones. Let them rescue you. See now that I am he, and there is no Elohim besides me. I put to death and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and from my hand no one delivers. For I lift my hand to the heavens and shall say, as I live forever, if I have sharpened my flashing sword and my hand takes hold on judgment, I shall return vengeance to my enemies and repay those who hate me. I make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword devours flesh with the blood of the slain and the captives from the long-haired enemy chiefs. O nations, acclaim his people. For he avenges the blood of his servants and returns vengeance to his adversaries, and shall pardon his land, his people. All right, that's far enough. We can go. So I don't know if you want to go back and visit the treasuries that he was talking about, but that's,
Yeah.
there we go. Verse 34. Is it not stored up with me, sealed up among my treasures?
Sounds very much like Malachi 3:10, doesn't it?
And also this idea of vengeance and repayment, like the treasury is what is stored up. He's got it stored, he's got it sealed.
Isn't there a verse that says store up your treasure in heaven?
Yeah, there is. So we've talked a lot about the idea of, or we've seen another scripture in here that talked about his treasury is the heavens. That's his treasury.
But that would be the treasury that we would want to contribute to,
Right.
wouldn't it be?
Right. And the idea there, of course, was, don't hold on to things on the earth.
Yeah.
So are we supposed to pay money, tithe?
Did we get an answer?
So are we supposed to tithe?
Are we supposed to all right, so here's my question to you, Terry. Are we supposed to tithe to whom?
Yeah,
The
because I mean we're tithing a seventh right now of our week.
Mhm.
No, actually, he's given us the Shabbat. We're receiving a seventh.
We're receiving a seventh, yes.
Yeah, a seventh portion.
So if somebody
So
challenges, are you tithing? My question would be, what does the scripture say? Who are we to tithe to? To whom? And here we're reading in Malachi, it is to YaHuWaH, to his storehouses. What are his storehouses?
well, you would tithe or pay tribute to your conqueror. So who is our conqueror? He conquered for us. He's our conqueror.
Yeah, so we have a couple of concepts there. Again, I mean, I really think I'm brought back to Joseph taking from the people during the times of poverty, right, and famine, and putting it in the storehouses. And
Didn't he ask for a tenth? Was it a tenth or was it more?
I don't
Might
recall.
have been 20%. I remember 20% for some reason.
Yeah,
As we think about it, was it?
No. You know what? I think it's 10% because it also says it continues to this day.
Okay.
It says that in scripture that
Yeah.
as it continues to this day, whatever portion he gave, it says that somewhere that whatever he set up as government, then whatever portion it says as it continues into this day.
I think
So
part of
they
The
kept,
story of Joseph, was it?
yeah, it's like they kept that in place. It worked. That storehouse, the tithing part in Egypt worked. They figured it out to keep of course it didn't last that long but anyway, Dave, it says as it continues to this day.
Terry, I feel like what one of the things that I'm thinking is that, first of all, the Joseph was a provider for, he gathered the people. That's what his name meant. He will gather. He gathered the
Mhm.
people. He provided for the people. Here in
Mhm.
Hawaii, it used to be the Kingdom of Hawaii. Now it comes under the United States, right? And there's even the what do they call the flag? The Jack flag, Bonnie?
Yeah.
That flag flies.
Union Jack.
Union Jack, yeah. That flag
Jack.
flies here in Hawaii.
Wow. That's
Joseph,
English.
exactly. People don't even
Joseph,
know
yeah.
the king, we don't think of the king as being our king. They're just making him king of the nations right now and king of Israel, right, Terry?
Yeah.
But my point is we're already, for those working, you're paying taxes. That's already coming out.
Yeah.
You're already automatically paying into a depository that pays out to the homeless, programs for the homeless, programs for the needy, programs for the widow,
Right.
programs for the orphans. We're already paying out, even in our taxes, for that. And
Right.
we're taking far more than 10%, just so you know. Because we're paying for whatever
Right.
or got their hands in the cookie jar too. But the taxes is already a depository for the nations of Joseph. The nations of Joseph that are feeding the world. And also the other 12 tribes, Reuben, of course, France, they have their way of taking in the tithe from the people so they can pay out to these other people that don't have.
Yeah.
I think it is a provision.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. I get that. I get that.
I think it is a
So,
provision of YaHuWaH. And then each of us so those are nations. Those are how the 12 tribes as nations today handle meeting the needs of the people. They must do it, and they are indebted to YaHuWaH to do it the right way, not to bring the worst and the broken and feed the homeless, the food that nobody else wants and things of that nature, right? They're to give them tobe food. And so I do think that a lot of this is handled at a national level. And that these aren't just national levels, they are nations of Yaakov that answer directly to YaHuWaH.
Okay, so here's the storehouses from the story of Joseph. It's a shirt. What?
That's the word witch. That's also the word witch.
Yeah, I'll do it wrong.
But it still has an implication of happy involved in it.
It does.
Yeah.
So how do we get storehouse here? Which
I don't know where I read that, but
which?
That's the word for storehouse?
Yeah.
Will you show me again?
Hang on. Let me just get to the bottom of it. You get to the bottom of this. Names of places.
what was the blessing to Asher? Wasn't it storehouses of the deep or something like that?
Yeah.
Where does it say storehouse?
Asher.
Can't see storehouse there. Okay, just going back to here.
Okay.
And Joseph opened all. It might just mean all, everything. It solves the Egyptians.
Oh,
The word storehouse isn't there. Bonnie, can you look up the word storehouse and outside, just storehouse and see what comes up? And I was thinking in the scriptures where storehouses comes up. That would be like a
I couldn't find anything useful, but granary storehouse. So we're looking at Asher 834.
It's interesting, Terry, what you were saying about YaHuWaH gives us a seventh. Requires a tenth, gives us a seventh. And I was thinking about the dreams that were given to Pharaoh, and they were for 7 years, right?
yeah.
Look at this one.
Cover 7 years of.
It's also a manger. I can't see a share in here anywhere. Can you guys see a share?
So, do you think the storehouse might be the temple storehouse? Because the temple did have a storehouse.
There's no storehouse here.
That's so interesting, Bonnie.
I think he's just saying, look, everything, all which is in it. There's too
Okay,
many
so then
witches
verse
that
50
every,
Yeah, it doesn't have the word storehouse there.
all witches in it. Yeah, that's what I think it's meant to say there. And they translated it as storehouses.
So it's not something tangible, like something concrete. It's not something like with walls and brick or silo or.
Well, this one was because here this is, first of all, we're in Genesis 41. We're not in Malachi, but it's talking about Joseph. It's talking about all in it. And the famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all which was in it and sold to the Egyptians. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it doesn't say storehouse there.
2156. Yeah, just to have a look at like what we understand as English. It's here.
So what it's kind of saying is, and Joseph opened all which was in it and sold to the Mitzrayim. And the scarcity of food was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all that was in it, as if it's collected everything on the face of the earth.
Well, that was sort of how it seemed, didn't it? That story.
Yeah. He's collected everything, but yeah, the word storehouse doesn't appear to be there in that verse.
Yeah. Laid up the food in the cities, but it doesn't say storehouse. But this is a classic example of YaHuWaH's storehouse.
This is
I was just going to say, what's his storehouse? His storehouse is everything.
Because that's how I found it. I put in storehouse. And I saw storehouses, which gave me late Genesis, which I knew was Joseph.
Yeah.
And that's the only sort of space.
But was storehouse in Malachi
as well? Sorry?
Was there storehouse in Malachi? Where we were studying? There it is, storehouse. Yeah. What's that word? But just as an aside, this is why it's great to know Hebrew and look for the clues, because Joseph means he will gather, and he's the one who gathered the grain for the famine. All right, so we're back to Otsar. Yeah, the storehouse in my house. So the storehouse in my house is where he says to bring all the tithes.
Yeah. So you're talking about then the temple.
You're talking about the temple. Yeah.
Yeah. So the temple is the Father's storehouse. If we are the temple, well then we are to invest in ourselves for the glory of the Father and to promote the kingdom.
We have to bring ourselves to him. Everything is his. Everything is his. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Everything is his.
So it says that there may be food in my house. So he wants food to be there to provide.
Yeah. As a recipient of somebody who's actually part of a regular sort of, I don't mind saying, a food bank, they call it here, where you go to the local churches, community houses, and you go, okay, you've got to tell them your story, and they'll let you through to the leftovers, it is, of the markets and the supermarkets and the stores that are donated in. It's the leftovers, and it's free, you get what you get.
So interesting.
So you're receiving like we receive.
Yeah, but it's the leftovers. It's the what everyone else doesn't want. What's expired. What's broken.
Right. It's not the best, which he requires the best. Cain's offering was not the best.
Bonnie, I'm just reading your note over in the chat here. Is it okay if I
I was going to say, if you're going to do any sort of put this online, best not to mention it because
best not to mention. Okay, got it. But I'll just mention
it's sad. It's sad.
It's very sad.
Very
Pa-
Yeah.
Children need to honor their parents and not hurt them in their death.
Yeah.
That's just brutal.
Yeah. To say that. Yeah.
In life and in death, honor your parents. I mean, because
That-
by the way,
that was-
you don't want to stand
yeah.
before it. You don't want to stand in ignorance before a mighty Elohim and that he found you wanting in a way that you did not care for and love your parents. So enough said on that.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
says, bring all the tithes into my house, the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And then he ties that, and try me now in this, says YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh. If not, I will open for you the windows of heaven. So he's already told us that the storehouse, his storehouse is the heavens. So now
Yeah.
he's tying an earthly storehouse with, if you keep that storehouse filled, I will pour out from my storehouse in the heavens to you. That there will be such a barrage that you will not be able to even receive it.
So does that just mean from the throne above, a barakah coming from that direction, however that looks in a sideways parallel, no, horizontal sort of motion with the believing community? Is that what that means? Like, as I said, going to a local charity and saying, look, I've fallen on hard times, help me, I'm not going to eat this week. Can I have a petrol voucher? I need to get to a job interview. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that happens, and generally through churches and church buildings,
and even countries, because these countries are the nations of Yaakov. They are set up to be granaries, grain houses for their nations, for the people there.
No.
So there will not be room enough. So, okay, y'all think this is talking about his temple, to bring ourselves into his temple. Is that what you're saying? It's about us storing up treasures in his temple, like we're doing right now. We're storing up treasures, we're feasting.
I would say for me, it would be more about meeting each other's needs as opposed to meeting our own needs. But on the other hand, if we have needs that we need to, obviously we need to meet the needs of our homes and our families. So there is that temple, but there's also the temples that he's working in our brothers and sisters. He doesn't want us letting the widows go without, or the orphans go without. He wants us to be mindful of those things. And so just whatever we can do to be the most loving, the most like him, the most where we're in a position where we can prove him and we can partner with him and see, hey, if I do this, you're going to pour out those barakot from heaven.
But where your treasure is, there your heart shall be also. Where your treasure is.
It was worth mentioning that scripture as well.
Yeah. Do not lay hold for yourselves treasures on earth.
Yeah, this is not it. We're sojourners. We need to keep that mentality that this is not it. This is not where we're going. It's not our destiny. We're looking for that city whose builder is Elohim. Just like
I'm sorry. Again, I come back to, are we supposed to give a tenth? I think it's your, who do you give it to? I think that's your answer. That's still the question.
Right. Yeah. My answer is whatever you feel led to donate to.
Yeah, but it said a tenth.
Yeah.
The definition said a tenth.
You're already, if you're paying taxes because you have a job of some sort, you're getting a W-2 or you're answering to the government, you're paying probably more than 10%. And that money is in theory supposed to go to care for all the different programs at a national level to feed the hungry, house the homeless, care for the widows and the orphans and those in need. every social program they have. Your taxes are going towards that treasury, that bringing together, and in not just in the concept of, oh, I'm just a citizen of this country, but no, these are 12 tribes nations. This has been set up at the top by the leaders. You might say, like, there's the church idea, and then there's the nation idea. And that nation has been set up on scriptural foundations and principles. They've set up their tax system at some level, at some initial place, on how do we meet the needs of the people.
Bring all the tithes
forward.
into the storehouse.
Now, have we answered what the storehouse is then? It's your taxes.
Oh, I thought it was everything.
Going to it's your taxes going to the programs. What did you say, Della? The programs that have been set up by the leadership that should be under the banner of the Father. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is, I think.
Yeah, I think it is I think nations is a great way of thinking about it, because these are 12 tribes nations. Most of us live in 12 tribes nations. We're either and by the way, probably more under England than we actually realize is really going on. But it's also at a quote local congregation or a church level. However, I would be very careful to realize that this is YaHuWaH who's speaking to us. It is not God, the Babylonian deity of fortune. So it matters to me. It matters, what deity we're serving. And this is the one who has Israel as his apportionment, as his inheritance. This is the one we have a relationship.
Our money has God on it.
Exactly. There's that. We're still
an Illuminati sign. It's almost like a bond. It looks like a bond. It's like a bond to a false god.
Right. And then they're even talking
the Illuminati
with a digital currency, right? They're planning that. So that's a whole other, we don't even know what, Baphomet or whatever's going to be on that stuff. Attached to that. We may never know what's attached to that, but we're still in a sense of a let my people let my people go. We're about at that level now where the people start crying out.
Well, if you think about it, these churches are tax exempt with a 501c3, so they're bringing in a little extra icing that way, and more icing on. I have to tell you, I'm being really quiet, but tithing was like a guilt trip kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it, and it was kind of when they passed the basket, you better be putting in an envelope.
Yeah, it's like, looking down the nose where's your envelope? Yeah.
Exactly.
So seriously, you could put in an envelope, and you could put this scripture in verse 10 here. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, and let there be food in my house, and please prove me in this, said YaHuWaH Tz'BaOWTh, whether I do not open for you the windows of the heavens and shall pour out for you boundless blessing.
Yeah, well, they take that to mean money.
But what do they take about YaHuWaH to mean? YaHuWaH of Hosts.
I don't know. I don't know. They're indoctrinated.
Sure, but anytime the word is brought,
my house is the church building. Come on.
And my house is us. My house is us. My house is
my home, where I have to run every other part of my life.
I think that would be an amazing verse to put in a plate in an envelope if expected to put some of the word of YaHuWaH in there, because they're accountable for what they do with the funds they bring in as well, and they're accountable to teach truth. They're accountable to teach the true Shabbat. You put anything you want in that envelope.
So if you actually felt you were being looked down upon because you weren't being seen to put something in an envelope because you had no money to put in the envelope, you could put something else in the envelope or nothing. Put an empty envelope in the plate.
You could also
yeah,
say,
like
I gave it the IRS.
Yeah, or you could put I'm gonna
yeah, I gave it the office. The
I
check's
have
in
to
the mail.
say this is really confusing. It's kind of confusing.
It
It's
says
kind of
yes, give a tithe. Prove me in this. I will send you extra stuff if you bless the Father's work. If you give of your increase to promote YaHuWaH's work, however that looks for you in your life.
if somebody you see is obviously in need, then the Father put them there for you to see and have discernment that that person needs a food or they need money.
I had a story this week of an associate of mine who had car trouble, and somebody offered to pay for that to be fixed, and they were concerned about, should they accept that gift. I said, do you know if you can handle it, let them, because they'll get the extra favor from the Father because they're helping you. And that's why they're doing it too. Don't be worried about saying yes to something like that, because it comes back to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is still a little bit muddy to me.
I like what Darla said though about, if you're paying taxes, you're doing way above and beyond what you should be doing. Because that's like the storehouse for the nation, pretty much. And look, if that's being abused or being misused in any way, that's not on you. It's not on you, that's on them. I know here in Australia we pay roughly 30% tax here on any wage. And that works out to many thousands of dollars for an average household per year.
That's supposed to go to.
If you attend a building and you like what goes on there, and you would like to see your teachers there and your programs continue and all that sort of thing, well, it's up to you.
And then we've got the example of the 1st and 2nd century set apart ones where they put 100%, like Ananias and Sapphira held a little change back and they got dead.
Yep.
So
on account of it.
Yeah. So so that's the way they dealt with that. But I don't know. And then we've got Judas. Judas didn't do so great as a treasurer.
Yeah, there's a great responsibility that comes with managing money, particularly for charities, because I think there's going to be a lot of judgment on people.
Oh, there's so much. So what my takeaway in my heart is from this is, when I see a need or feel a need, fulfill it, do it, because I'm not a member. This is my assembly. I'm a member of this assembly.
Yeah.
So this is my assembly.
Absolutely. I think there's a national level, and then there's an assembly level, and then there's a personal level. Just what do they say? Let the change that you want to see begin with you. Like, we do that part. We do the part that we can each do, because we're all in local areas that we can impact people in some way, in some beautiful way. We can help provide. Some of the people that will have a problem with the way a person gives, they wouldn't be happy at all about, well, gee, I've got this apple tree and I'm sharing apples. They would not be okay with that. But this is
No.
the work of my hands. And this is what YaHuWaH has promised to Barak me through is how many people know a pastor would be happy if you bring a 5 bushels of wheat and drop it off at his door? Nope.
And I guarantee you those first set apart believers were bringing food. Food
Yep.
was being distributed there. You know?
Absolutely. Nobody was working, as attorneys in big conglomerations in Houston, Texas. Nobody was running social media jobs and things like that,
Yeah, but they were required to sell their property, sell their house, and give it to the assembly.
Yeah.
Where does our responsibility like that? Is that our standard? Is that what we're supposed to line up to?
Well, when the
I mean,
leaders start that, and first of all, they better be calling on the name of YaHuWaH, and they better know the name of Yahushua before they start saying we're going to live like the first century church, right? When they start selling their stuff and they're worshiping the true Elohim and they know the true calendar, then yeah, great. Let's all share equally. But we've always got those coffers at the top that are, pulling out for themselves, and it's not really going down that way. It didn't work out so great for Ananias and Sapphira when they tried to say they gave everything. But we don't generally see in this day and age right now where wickedness is judged on the spot like that, just on the spot. There's no 10 years and 20 years to walk around with a guilty conscience or otherwise not have one because it's been seared.
What about exempt from prosecution for 75 years?
Yeah.
What
about that?
Yeah.
YaHuWaH's going to pull his people out of the nations that they are in because Israel is his inheritance, and Israel will follow him along with the mixed multitude, and they will be put under the bond of the covenant in the wilderness. And those nations that come out of it will be destroyed.
You think there'll be a mixed multitude again, or will it be all covenant people?
I think that they will come out as a mixed multitude, just like that's what I expect is going to happen. Just like it happened in Egypt, they will come out, but then they will be put under the bond of the covenant, YaHuWaH says, and he will get rid of the rebellious. Yeah. So they will be put under the bond of the covenant. They will have to covenant with YaHuWaH.
Yeah. Just like that's what happened in the desert. Yep, the first time. Yep, I get it.
Like if we just have it our heart's level to help his people, help them get out, help them find his covenant, help them eat if they're hungry. And like I said earlier, if some guy shows up at your home, Terry, and he needs a place to sleep, you could probably take him to the local church or say, go talk to these people, go talk to this elder. He's a great man. He's got a great heart. Go see if they can help you there, because it's
I wouldn't go with him in the car by myself. I mean,
just give them an address and say, go talk to these people. Maybe somebody there can help you, or go talk to the other churches. Those are local. There's also local political entities as well, but they may get a better answer. So I think it's sort of both and. We have a national treasury, and then we have local treasuries, which often are in the hands of churches. Those churches are then, because of the money they brought in, they have a duty to provide for those people that need help. Put them up in a whatever for the night, or here's a housing place that we help people. I used to volunteer at a Lutheran church. They had, and this was part of the community. The community was working hand in hand with the churches, okay? And on Monday nights, you could go to the Lutheran church and you have a place to sleep, because they didn't have Lutheran church services on Monday night. Monday night was available for the church in their little hall. They would let people sleep on the floor with their sleeping bags. People would show up, they would sleep there. There was another place in the city where they could go and have a shower. There was another place they could go and get food. And then they'd be at this church, they'd be at the Mormon church or on Tuesday night. And then they'd be over at the Foursquare church on Thursday night. And so there were places they could go. This was in my city, Simi Valley. There was places they could go, and people that were somehow affiliated either with the church or otherwise wanted to volunteer their time. They would come in, they would just sort of host them overnight. They would feed them dinner, and you know, they would have a meal right there at the church, and then they would go to sleep. And they would have their little free phones that the government had given them. And then in the morning, they would have maybe donuts or whatever they had for them and coffee. And then they would send them by 8 o'clock. They had to be out because children were coming for their school. Maybe they had to be out at 7 a.m. because children were coming to go to private Christian school there during the daytime. So those people had to leave and be you know, gone. You couldn't have, you know, that's not proper that homeless men are hanging around where Christian children are being schooled. So it's both and. YaHuWaH is using both of those things to meet the needs of the people, and the homeless needs to have a place to sleep that's not under a bush somewhere in the rain. Those needs were being met.
Yeah, I sure don't want to be standing there and him saying, I was in prison and you didn't feed me. Well, I didn't know you were in prison. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is hard teaching. I think this is hard teaching right here.
Yeah. We can do everything that we can. I mean, in terms of improper, some of us know a man that ended up committing a murder, and he still believes in YaHuWaH. He had some demons that greatly had gained access and control over him, and a murder was committed, and I knew this man personally, and I asked myself, you know, am I supposed to do this, that, or the other? Well, I'm a woman, and there should be. Hey, David. Oh, Judah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I think that there can be a ministering to this man by men. This
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, you know, I
exactly.
was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's
I-
context in all of that. A woman could minister to a woman in prison, but I don't think it's proper for a woman to minister to
no,
a man. I don't think
no.
YaHuWaH is requiring that at all. It's not proper.
No, I totally agree in that instance. You have to use your discernment about what's safe and
Yes.
what's proper,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but these things that we do for others, we're going to stand up by them. Because I mean, isn't that correct? What you do, your deeds, what you do are all written down. What you did and what you didn't do by omission, what you didn't do. Correct?
Yes. It's Matthew chapter 25, 35, where you say, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. Anyone there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, there've been people who let people in who didn't live to tell about it. They didn't, you know.
No, you don't
It's a
want to
different
be-
world. It's a different world, but he changes not. So I don't know.
You don't want to be in this boat here.
You what?
You don't want to be in this boat here. You know, just go away from
No.
the you.
No,
Plus-
you don't.
plus, there's a point where you've got to protect yourself. There's a point where you've got to conserve your resources for yourself.
But you know what? It reminds me of Elijah and the woman who only had enough flour and oil for one cake, and she gave it to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she was already planning to die. So she was willing to just fast that last meal.
I don't know if I could do that.
You probably could. If you were down to your last meal, you could probably. And a prophet of YaHuWaH said, hand it over first to me. And then there was more.
Well, I was just thinking if it was my last meal, I might, like you said, be fasting and say, just take it. I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, if I was in prison, it was my last meal.
Yeah.
I'd probably like, well, give it to Joe over there. I don't need it. You know, I'm fasting and I'm praying to the last second.
Exactly. Yeah. YaHuWaH will meet. And I think anybody that would come against somebody about tithing, but then they don't know the name of YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH's name is absolutely tied to the tithe in Malachi there.
Tied to the tithe. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about binding up. No, be bound to YaHuWaH. And if you don't know his name,
So you have to ask the question, is it going to hurt anything if you did? If you don't know any better, is it a sin to do that? You know, are you following the laws of man? I think if you don't know any better, you know, are you giving from your heart, or are you doing this out of obligation? Are you a Pharisee, you know, about it?
Yeah.
This is tough teaching. Sorry, it's tough teaching for me.
it is. It is. It goes against a lot of things we think we know. And I think there's a lot of room for you do what you think is right with what you have, so long as you honor the Father.
And really, what's more important to YaHuWaH, that the tithe, for the sake of the tithe, for the sake of the church would like the tithe? Or Bonnie, could we look up Jeremiah 29:13?
Okay.
Says here, and you shall seek me and shall find me when you search for me with all your heart. And I shall be found by you, declares YaHuWaH, and I shall turn back your captivity and shall gather you from all the Gentiles and from all the places where I have driven you, declares YaHuWaH, and I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you. Oh, because you have said, YaHuWaH has raised up prophets for us in Babel. Thus said YaHuWaH concerning the sovereign who sits on the throne of David, concerning all the people who dwell in the city, and concerning your brothers who have not gone out with you into exile. Thus said YaHuWaH of Hosts, see, I am sending on them the sword, the scarcity of food, and the pestilence, and I shall make them like spoiled figs, so spoiled as to be uneatable. And I shall pursue them with the sword, with scarcity of food, and with pestilence. And I shall make them a horror among all the reigns of the earth, to be a curse, and an astonishment, and a hissing, and a reproach among all the Gentiles, where I have driven them. For they did not heed my words, declares YaHuWaH, which I sent to them by my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them. Yet you did not listen, declares YaHuWaH. You therefore hear the word of YaHuWaH, all you exiles whom I have sent from Jerusalem to Babel. Thus said YaHuWaH of Hosts, the Elohim of Yasharel, concerning Ahab, son of Koliah, and Tz'BaOWTh, which means the righteousness of YaHuWaH, son of Maaseiah, who are prophesying falsely to you in my name. See, I'm giving them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and he shall smite them before your eyes. And because of them, all the exiles of Yehuda who are in Babel shall use a curse, saying, YaHuWaH make you like Tz'BaOWTh and Ahab, whom the sovereign of Babel roasted in the fire, because they have done wickedness in Yasharel, and committed adultery with their neighbors' wives, and have spoken a word in my name falsely, which I have not commanded them. And I am he who knows, and a witness, declares YaHuWaH. So point being is that we seek him with all our hearts in verse 13.
Yeah, I mean, like we're seeking him right now for an answer in this.
Exactly. We're seeking him. We're
And
seeking his word.
he's going to put it on our heart. I mean, we're trying here. This is hard teaching, but he'll put it on our heart.
It's 29:11. That's one of my favorite scripture verses of all time.
Yes, love that. Plans of peace and not evil, to give you a future and an expectancy. You know, if you're hopeless is a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Expectancy is so cool. You bounce up in the morning like beating on your chest, going, yay, it's going to be a great day. Everything's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of hopeless, like this is, you know, with my children, and to bounce up and everything be wonderful. I mean, can you even imagine? Just can't even imagine everything gonna be perfect, all relationships restored, and
Yeah.
hey, store up for yourself treasures in heaven. We already went over that verse, didn't we? Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. We already did that
Yeah,
one.
we did.
Treasures in heaven.
Oh, no, that was the Matthew one.
Yeah, Matthew. Uh-huh.
Yeah, store it for yourselves. What would be treasure in heaven? It seems like it would be just being so in love with the Father. That's your greatest treasure. You know, and we are his treasure. You know, what's the most valuable thing? Love.
Passion. But you know, this the word resilience keeps coming up with me lately, and it's like, okay, you know, wherewithal, long suffering, patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the most valuable thing is love.
That love, you just a hanging symbol.
Right?
It was 1 Corinthians 13, I think, somewhere. The section on love.
Yeah.
I think Abraham Gileadi in the Isaiah Explained commentary talks about, I think he talks about love as being a covenant term, right? Covenant term. It's a covenant, you call it covenant blessing, he would call it. He would talk
Yeah,
about
like
a covenant blessing or covenant curse.
yeah.
Does any of this help, Terry?
So should we pay tithe?
So my thing is if you're paying taxes, you're already paying a tithe at least. You're already paying a tithe at least, and you're also giving of your time. We see you giving of your time here to the Father and for his purposes. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you're doing it. You're doing it, and you're doing it. I mean, you may feel like
Because I love him and I love you all, you know.
yeah.
So
And
love is the love is your, you know, that's it. That's it. Is love your motivation?
Like it.
Is love your motivation when you put that envelope in there?
ah,
Is that your, are you doing it out of love or obligation? Is it out of love that you put that in there?
yeah. Or is it fear
Or obligation?
fear of
Yeah,
man?
I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah,
Fear of what, Bella?
Fear of man judging you.
Yeah.
right. Fear of the judge. Yeah, I mean, I know how it feels to pass the plate and not put anything in it, and the one beside you, I know how that feels.
Yeah.
They noticed.
And it's probably
And they also,
that way on you know, to some degree on purpose. You know,
yeah,
some sort of
Yeah.
you know, go buy this little box at some point while you're here and, you know, drop something in a very secret way, but instead it's kind of like, no, everybody knows what you're doing or not doing.
well, that's like the widow's mite. Everybody saw how much she was putting in, and then the Pharisee swaggers up there and pours gobs of money into it. Now that is something at the Messianic church here. There's no passing of a plate. There's a little Sika box or something they call it, and it's up front, and you just put money in when you come in or when you go out. Nobody knows. It's not pass. It's not. That's a very public thing to pass an offering plate.
Yes.
That's a very, I don't know, uncomfortable. It's just not. It's like peer pressure.
And it promotes
I know.
judgment too. It promotes judgment in other people, and I think it's wrong.
I know. I recall being in one of the not Pentecostal Protestant denominations here years ago. You know, it's like, you know, if you're visiting, we're about to pass the plate around for the donations. If you're visiting here today, just let the plate pass by.
Do you remember the old-timey churches that would put up, you would see in the front the amount of the offering for last week? They had it in little sliding numbers where they had, we got this much offering last week, we're minus 507, for our building project. And, guilt, there's guilt and shame. There's guilt and shame involved in passing that plate.
It helps.
That's a very personal
if people
thing, especially if you're giving it out of love. Like I could just see the widow putting that mite in, and she didn't want anybody to see her, not out of shame, but she just wasn't she wasn't shamed that she did that. I don't think she was shamed. I think she did that out of love. I'm going to give everything. I'm going to use my flour and my oil, and I'm going to give everything.
we don't own any of it.
Not ours.
That's a big thing right there, Bonnie, is that everything belongs to YaHuWaH. There's not a thing that we don't even own the breath in our lungs.
No.
Everything we're basically shepherding over, or YaHuWaH's left. YaHuWaH talks about he leaves his stuff with his disciples, his servants, to watch over and to increase. He expects us to work and not be lazy servants, right? So he expects that. He expects us to do something with what he's left us, the raw materials he's given us to work with. He's looking for increase. That his word says that. His son tells us that.
Well, increase can mean a lot of things, if you're
Absolutely.
if you're sharing the, how do you say good news? Barakah,
Yeah.
Barakah, good news.
The Brit Hadashah, well, that's a renewed covenant. Yeah.
Well, good news.
Besora, that's the word you're looking for.
Besora. If you're sharing that, then you're giving more than food. His word.
You take your time and you read it. You read a chapter like we did today, and then we really drill down to it. We've made something from that. We've made more than what we began with. We had time plus a chapter, and then we brought all of this depth and richness out of it that really adds to our own understanding of what does it mean to tithe. Right? That's an increase. That's an increase beyond just.
So he pours his favor down on us in every way, in discernment and in material, what we need. I mean, Darla, we've all prayed. We've all been at the bottom of the barrel where you just don't know how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's scary. Was the woman with the flour and a little boy and a little bit of oil, was she scared?
No. She was resolved to whatever YaHuWaH was going to bring her way.
That's kind of like Hagar. She was resolved, you
I
know.
was just thinking about that, Terry, because I was over studying in Genesis 15 earlier this week, and I happened to run into this in chapter 16, in Genesis 16 verse 13, and so Hagar's there, just basically waiting for her son to die, and YaHuWaH sees her situation, and
Mhm.
and he tells her, okay, this is what's going to happen to your son. He's not going to die. He's going to become, the father of like 12 tribes. And he tells her what's going to happen to her son. And it says, and she called the name of YaHuWaH who spoke to her. You are the El who sees. For she said, even
Mhm.
here have I seen after him who sees me. Even here have I seen after him who sees me. So yeah, the El who sees.
Mhm.
Saw
The owl
her
who sees me.
circumstances. Yeah.
I think Sarah also said the same thing. Yeah, when she laughed, and the messenger said you laughed, and she said, no, I didn't. And then didn't she say the same thing? It was the El who sees me. El Roy, said the God who sees me.
Lahai Roy is what Bir Lahai Roy is what she called the well. That's Hagar. And then
Did Sarah say that too? When she laughed, and then the messenger said, you laughed when I said that. And she was like, no, I didn't.
right. I don't know. I have to go see over there.
I think she said the same thing. I don't know. I don't know that for sure. Anyway, I was thinking about something the other day. If we are from the tribe of Ephraim or Manasseh, then we have we're part Egyptian.
Well, I don't think so, Terry. And the reason I don't think so is because
Why?
there are
Manasseh and Ephraim.
yeah, there are Jewish sages that say, so remember Deborah when Deborah got pregnant and had a child, they say that this is Shechem, right? Shechem, Prince of Shechem, that she had a child, and that child was raised by Judah, but somehow that child also ended up being like adopted by Potiphar and his wife. And that was the woman. Like, there's a story, Terry. There's a story.
Oh yeah, and it ended up she was a Jewess.
She was Deborah's child, and that was
Deborah the judge.
no, Deborah the daughter. Is it no, I'm sorry, not Deborah, Dina, the daughter of Jacob.
Okay.
It was Dina's child, but the father was Shechem.
Yeah.
Was that the one that was raped?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it was Dina, and she was raped. There was a child, and this child ended up being adopted by Potiphar.
Yeah. Where was that? Where did we see that? I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't recall where it
That's
was.
not in scripture.
Was it in Jasher? Do you know, Bonnie?
On the button. Yes, it was in Jasher. I'm trying to put the kettle on.
That's really something. So if that's true, then
Yeah,
we
so
don't have Egyptian. But
And-
if that's not true, then we have Egyptian blood in us. We're part Egyptian. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, wow.
If it is true, we've got Nephilim blood in us.
Well, it can't be true then. That can't be true. Potiphar, they had to have adopted a girl.
And there was some
I
study.
I hope so. Why do you say we have Nephilim blood? Because the Egyptians were. Why do you say we have Nephilim blood if we have Egyptian blood? Why do you say that?
She's still trying to get her kettle on over there.
It was something that that Zen Garcia had said in the last I've been doing the Digital Readers Club with the book, The Vestiges of Light and Rod of Wonder.
What
And
did
it
you
was
So we're all
Zen
we're all
Garcia research.
Egyptians
He
fall out from the
talked about it
Nephilim.
in the last session over on Hebrew Hawaiian.
Did you say Hebrew and Hawaiian?
Yeah.
Zen Garcia has something on Hebrew and Hawaiian?
They got shut down on Zen Garcia's channel for talking naughty. I was wondering how it's going. Geez, they're saying things here they shouldn't be. They got kicked off for 2 weeks. So for now, the Digital Readers Club is over on the Hebrew Hawaiian channel.
Oh.
Mm.
I didn't know about a Hebrew Hawaiian channel.
Lisa,
That would be a very interesting code table, Bonnie, about Potiphar's adopted daughter.
Dina's daughter.
Okay, so Dina's daughter was a daughter of that rape.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one that caused Levi and Simeon to go slaughter all of them.
Yeah. Was that in Shechem?
Yep.
Yeah. The Prince of
Shechem.
Joseph was the other part of that was that supposedly Joseph was deeded Shechem. Shechem belonged to Joseph.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Shechem.
Oh, you gotta go have a look. Hang on.
Shechem what?
Hold on.
What?
You
I
said
missed that. Joseph was what?
The owner of Shechem.
Oh no, I knew that. No, he was the owner of Samaria. Joseph was given Samaria by his father. That was part of his land distribution, was Samaria. Is Shechem in Samaria? Samaria, like that was like Jacob's, well, I think that was all Joseph, that was Joseph's territory. Joseph owned that. Could be wrong, don't know, but seems to me like that was supposed to be Joseph's land.
Okay, this one. So they've been
In
on
Samaria.
Zen Garcia's channel, but because it's been because of YouTube at the moment, it's over here on this channel.
Okay.
It's this one that was the most recent one, and he goes into the story of Dina.
Okay.
And they're only 1 hour session. It's pretty good. You just skip the first 10 minutes, which is all their chatter and whatever. And they do some reading from this book, and then they have about, I don't know, 20-minute discussion about it. And Jen Garcia shared some fantastic stuff about some of the extra biblical writings about Joseph. Because somebody did ask that question, I think. Aren't we aren't we Egyptians if
Yeah.
Potiphar was the father-in-law?
Okay, I just Googled this, and the region of Samaria was assigned to the house of Joseph, that is, to the tribe of Ephraim and to half of the tribe of Manasseh. After the death of King Solomon, 10th century, the northern tribes, including those of Samaria, separated from the southern tribes and established the separate kingdom of Israel. So yeah, I remember because I did that Jacob's well, and I just remembered that was supposed to be land assigned to the house of Joseph.
So
that's interesting because really Samaria means Gentile. Like it's the meaning of a Gentile, I think.
So is Shechem Samaria? That's my question.
So
What is Sumerian?
that's a good question.
Yeah, because Shechem,
Is Shechem in Samaria, in Israel?
on the map for the tribes allocation, you've got Shechem, you've got Jerusalem, then you've got Ephraim just over to the left, and above it you've got the half tribe of Manasseh, and sort of just in the Manasseh side is Shechem.
Okay, so Shechem would be in Samaria.
Yeah, my map doesn't say Samaria, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But interesting that that was Joseph's land, isn't it?
What is Samaria in Aramaic and in Hebrew? Is it sounds like it's Shomer.
To guard.
Mhm.
Wow.
What is Shomer?
To watch, to keep, to guard, to observe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. That's cool.
Do I have a Strong's here? What is Samaria in? Yeah, I got one here. Samaria in how's that spelled in Hebrew or Aramaic?
Samaria.
Is that a Samic or is it a Sheen? Because it sounds like it
Okay,
might be.
Google Translate Israel. I can do Samaria. Sheen wa mem resh wa noon, which is Shomaru.
Shomaron. So this is the word to watch, to keep, to guard, to observe.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that's the first time when YaHuWaH, that's when he said he claimed himself to be Messiah, was in Samaria
Yeah, John
at the
4.
well.
Yeah.
That's just so interesting.
Yeah.
That was Joseph's land.
Yeah, observe. And she observed that she perceived that he was the Mashiach.
Yeah, and then he said, he said, I am he. It's the first time he proclaimed it.
Yeah.
And then something really cool is Rome, when he was on the cross, Rome proclaimed it. That was the last time. They finally did on the cross. It said, YaHuWaH, King of the Jews. So he went from Messiah to King. He announced it the first time at the well, but you remember when Pilate said, no, right, Yeshua of Nazareth, King of the Jews. That was the last, he put that sign on him. He declared it. That's cool, isn't it?
It really is. I was going to say
I'm,
something about.
I'm looking up Samaria, and I found Jeremiah 41 verse 5. That came certain men from Shechem, from Shiloh, and from Samaria. So there you go. So they were nearby. 8111 is Samaria. On share screen.
Well, there was some bad blood between them. Like they didn't let them pass through their land or something.
Was there
Remember?
It says watch.
That's why they hated the Samaritans. Oh, no. What, that was part of the Israel, the northern tribes, right? Yeah.
Yep. Manasseh. Manasseh.
Guardianship.
That was the capital of the northern kingdom. Yeah.
Yep. From Shema.
Shamar.
Guardianship.
Keep what to preserve. Yeah.
Let me see that. Let me see that. Bodyguard, careful.
This is that idea of storing up. I think that this is attached to that word for the storehouse, Terry. The fact that
was
this right now.
That was Tz'BaOWTh.
What?
Tz'BaOWTH Treasury Storehouse.
Yeah.
That's attached to this.
I think so. I think that the fact that this is coming up is what we're discussing now. That these, for instance, the taxes of the people go and they take care of the needs of the people. That is a guardianship.
war that's got a big first has something to do with guardianship, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Samaria?
Yeah, we're talking
This
about
is the
the
root
meaning.
word. The root word for Samaria is Shemer, which is to
Oh,
keep
okay,
out
so
the-
that goes back to the parable, you know, of the Samaritan man and then who came to take care of him? A Samaritan man? Yeah, a Samaritan man came to take care of. Which one was a Samaritan? The man on the road or the one that came to take care of him? I think it was the one that came to take care of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is Samaritan and Samaria, is a Samaritan a citizen of Samaria?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, probably would be, yeah.
The the woman of Samaria, the Samaritan.
So yeah, that
don't know.
word shomeron means guardianship
That's interesting.
or watch station.
That's interesting because that's where Jacob's well. They were at Jacob's well. The woman at the well was at Jacob's well.
So she was
Isn't
coming
it
to
interesting?
her father's
There
well.
you go, Luke 10:34. There you go. The Samaritans soothed his wounds.
So yeah, so guardianship right there. Help the sick.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Good Samaritan, help the sick, taking care of the poor and the sick.
And how many places do we have called Samaritan's Purse, right?
Yes, I was going to say about then. Yep. Yep. They had like relief buses here, as well as doing charity stuff. They had like disaster relief.
And they have like
Oh.
Samaritan policy, like if a person tries to help somebody and the person dies, like giving a
Yeah,
invitation, and the person dies, like there's a hold harmless for the person that tries to help.
Yeah.
They lose the patient.
it's this Good Samaritan law. Good
Yeah.
Samaritan law. You fall under that.
Yeah, so and then the root of that is shamar, the Shin Memresh or Samer, right? And observance. But it's also preserved, something preserved. Something preserved.
That's deep, isn't it? Talking about, I mean, that was a deep study, the woman at the well, because the clay jars of clay, man were clay. His first miracle were the jars with the water.
And
Just
even
a
then
lot.
it was like, how is it that you, a Jewish man, are talking to me, a Samaritan woman? There was that sense of, is it even proper for you to be speaking to me, right? There's that concept in constructs in our society. Is it wise for me to be talking to you? Yeah. It says she perceived he is a prophet. Perceived he was.
She said that.
Yeah.
Sir, I perceive you are a prophet.
Yeah.
And then what was his answer? No, she went on to say our ancestors, she went off on our ancestors say we're supposed to work. She was like going around in circles.
Yeah, she was asking questions.
She was asking questions.
And
then she said, "Oh, I know when she's like, "Oh, I know we will when the Messiah comes." So that was his opening.
Yeah. And they probably, I mean, they would have had this concept about themselves that they are guardians of that area.
Yeah, she was a guardian. She was very protective of this is Jacob's well. This is my people. This is my people place right here.
Exactly. And she knew who her ancestors were.
Yeah.
I've seen
Which would have been Jacob, which would have been Israel, would have been
us.
She
knew. do we know? That's the question to ask.
Isn't that something that was the first time he revealed himself as Messiah?
Yeah. And then there's that time where Yahushua said, don't go to the Gentiles, but go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
I remember the disciples were like shocked. What do you mean we're going to Samaria?
Yeah.
Yeah, we never go to Samaria. None of us ever go to Samaria. Nope, we're going to Samaria.
All that dividing and gathering, separating and pulling together. I've seen a study where it talks about the second born child would take on the well, for instance, in Ephraim and Manasseh, that Manasseh being the firstborn, he took on connection to his grandmother, which was Dinah. But Ephraim took on the connection of Jacob, so to speak, that his identity was with Jacob. That, you know, Jacob selected him of the two, but that Manasseh connected to Dinah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can see why he says, I want you to dwell on my word when you get up, when you lie down, when you walk along the road, because we're going to be dwelling on it for eternity.
And
And
look,
we won't have to be going to any books or libraries or online sort of seminars about, you know, what somebody thinks about this or that. We will just know.
Yeah, we'll know. Although, you know what? What's more fun than digging it out on Shabbat? This is just fun, digging it out on Shabbat.
it really is. We
You
can
know.
take the time to just like rest our aging bodies, these mortal tents, and just feed our ruach coat, our spirits.
Although this is not easy, you know, but I feel rested after I do this.
Yeah, and we have
Like
certain.
my headache is almost gone.
Yeah, you were rubbing your eyes, and you know what? The weirdest thing is, I wasn't going to say anything, but it was so weird. It was just like one of these anomalies. But did you notice this, Bonnie? When she was when she was rubbing her, well, I don't even know. Maybe it was just for me. I don't know. Maybe it'd be interesting to see if it was on the recording. But she was rubbing her head, her temples, and her eyebrows were moving separate to her face. They were in front of her fingers, like they were penciled on. It was the weirdest thing. Like you could see your eyebrows, but then there was like a penciled eyebrow on top of your
Oh, you know, you can do that. Bonnie
Yes,
told
I
me.
can see that. Yeah, it's in the settings. You can
Okay, let me get that.
your makeup look.
It's horrible. I was just playing with it.
I've never seen. I was like, well, how that just looks like a
Oh yeah. Do you remember one time, not too long ago, my lips were orange for like 4 classes?
Yeah.
That's what you can do this on your settings in your
Oh,
you can enhance,
so funny.
it was on video, I think. Video,
touch up my appearance. Yeah, I don't know. Where is it,
video
Bonnie?
settings. You click on stop video down the bottom left, and then click on video settings. And then where was it after that? Background and effects. And then studio effects in the bottom right. And you can
How do you have this all memorized? Okay, so
you can
none.
do
Okay, okay.
mustache and beard. You can do lip color. I think I've turned it off in my settings, so I can't see anything.
Yeah, mine.
Okay, look. Okay, can y'all see me? You can't see me. Okay, I'm gonna just. Can you see me?
Lipstick. Yeah. It looks like she's put lipstick on.
I did. I
Oh,
did on the video.
on the
Do you see
video,
that, Darla?
Yeah,
Do you see that?
Yeah.
You didn't.
I didn't do anything except adjust my video. So
It looks like you got lipstick on.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Amazing. Who needs a makeup person? So funny.
Yeah.
But
Here's your makeup. Studio effects. Okay.
Do the eyebrows one. I want to see what the eyebrows do.
we already
There you
saw
go.
the eyebrows one. But it was funny
Well-
because he was touching it by her mouth. Here, talk, Terry, and then I'll let your image be up. She's laughing.
Darla.
What? Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, it was something crazy like that. But the weird thing was, like, if you were rubbing your temples near your eyebrows, and the eyebrows were all like on top of your fingers. Oh, I saw a mushroom. I saw a mustache that time.
Yeah, I put a mustache on.
Yeah, I see it. I see it. Oh my.
May this video enrich your love in and understanding of our Abba YaHuWaH and His Word. Much has been hidden. Together let's seek the restoration of all truth. A Light Unto the Gentiles channel invites you to join the Hebrew Restoration and Code Searching team. Please email us at alightuntothe@gmail.com to let us know of your interest. Looking for fellowship? We invite you to join our Facebook group, Code Searching Hebrews. Love, truth, and revelation are vital in these last days. The Hebrew Restoration and Code Searching Ministries, through A Light Unto the Gentiles, serves YaHuWaH and the sheep from our Father's pasture. Please prayerfully consider a monthly donation to Restoration Farms Incorporated. Links are provided for you below in the description.